The chief bent down excitedly, gripping the two cubs and asking, "Are you really better? Does your body still hurt? Does your head still hurt?" The two cubs shook their heads repeatedly, their faces glowing with energy and excitement never seen before. "Chief Grandpa, we don't hurt at all. We feel full of energy. Grandma's divine medicine is so amazing. We only took it once, and it completely cured us. Wonderful, wonderful." The chief examined the two cubs from head to toe and saw that they no longer showed any sign of weakness. Instead, they looked full of vitality, leaving him so overjoyed that he didn't know what to say. However, at this moment, Su Qianqian began to feel suspicious. Cured after just one dose? What kind of medicine could be this miraculous? She glanced doubtfully at the two cubs and noticed that while they appeared energetic and excited, the purplish bruises on their bodies were still present. Their skin remained pale, and their sunken cheeks showed no improvement. The symptoms of malaria were clearly still there. They hadn't been cured at all.
"Chief."
Su Qianqian quickly stepped forward and handed over the sweet wormwood in her hand. "They're not healed. This is a herb I gathered from the misty forest. It can cure their illness. Please let them." Before she could finish, the shaman interrupted her. "What are you saying? Are you doubting the effectiveness of my divine medicine?" As he spoke, the shaman shot a disdainful glance at the wormwood in her hand, his tone dripping with contempt. "Where did you pick up this random weed? You think this can cure an illness? What a joke. This isn't a weed. It's called sweet wormwood," Su Qianqian explained patiently, once again turning to the chief. "Chief, this herb can truly cure this disease.
Please believe me."
The chief looked at Su Qianqian, who had rushed back in a state of disarray, then at the herb in her hand. He opened his mouth, his face showing some hesitation, but eventually said, "Young lady, I know you mean well, but the shaman has already developed a divine medicine for our tribe, so this herb of yours." He didn't finish the sentence, but his meaning was clear. Seeing the chief side with him, the shaman's face showed a trace of triumph. His gaze grew even more disdainful as it swept over Su Qianqian. "Young lady, I understand you're eager to prove yourself and show that you're qualified to be a shaman, but you need to pick the right time. Our Grey Wolf tribe is facing a great crisis right now. This isn't a stage for you to show off. As for that weed of yours, I've never even seen it before. How could it possibly have any medicinal effect?" This time, Su Qianqian remained silent. With the shaman's divine medicine present, any explanation she gave would seem feeble and unconvincing. Ahem, the priest nearby finally spoke after some consideration. "I think the young lady must have gone through a lot these past few days to gather those herbs. Chief, why not let her try? It wouldn't hurt to acknowledge her good intentions." The priest's words were quite fair. The chief seemed to take them to heart and hesitated for a moment before speaking. This could work. But just as he began to agree, the two cubs started throwing a tantrum, rolling on the ground and wailing.
"No.
We don't want to eat the ugly girl's weeds. We want Grandma's divine medicine." Their tantrum extinguished the flicker of consideration that had appeared in the chief's mind. "Let's forget about it," he said firmly, casting an apologetic glance at Su Qianqian. "Young lady, I'm very grateful for your efforts on behalf of our Grey Wolf tribe. But this illness is spreading quickly, and our tribe doesn't have much time to waste. We'll pass on your herb." These words were a complete rejection of the herb in Su Qianqian's hand. "I understand." Su Qianqian's fingers tightened around the sweet wormwood, a trace of mockery flashing across her lips. She lowered her head and left the cave without another word. Not far from the cave, Lang Yen stood silently, watching Su Qianqian walk away in despair. His steps faltered, as though he wanted to go over and say a few words of comfort. But in the end, he didn't move. Pressing his thin lips together, he shifted his gaze away from the girl. Su Qianqian returned to her own cave alone. Looking at the familiar and warm surroundings, she felt slightly better. Forget it. If they didn't trust her, so be it. After all, she was just an outsider. How could she compare to a shaman who had lived here for decades and earned everyone's trust? Adjusting her mood, Su Qianqian put the sweet wormwood back into her storage pouch. In this world, the only person she could rely on was herself. She needed to focus on improving her own strength. Only by becoming stronger could she survive and thrive after leaving the Grey Wolf tribe. With this in mind, Su Qianqian opened the dimensional trading system. Just in time, a merchant from the ancient dimension had replied to her message. Looking at the polite message asking to privately purchase a red lingji, Su Qianqian was slightly stunned. She had thought the other party might offer something to trade for it, but unexpectedly, they simply wanted to buy it with star coins. Then again, it made sense. After all, the ancient dimension was a lower-tier realm, and there wasn't much there that she particularly desired. Out of curiosity, Su Qianqian opened the merchant's sales catalog. It was filled with a dazzling array of antique porcelain pieces, all priced affordably. If she were still in the modern world, she might have traded the red lingji for some of those antiques. Collecting her thoughts, Su Qianqian agreed to the transaction. 68,000 star coins in hand. Looking at her account balance, which now totaled over 1,000,000 star coins, Su Qianqian decided it was time to purchase a device to test her ability level and other attributes. The instrument she purchased was, more precisely, a spiritual artifact from the cultivation dimension. This artifact wasn't just for testing spiritual root attributes and purity, it could also assess one's talent, aptitude, physical fitness, speed, endurance, and intelligence. It was a comprehensive testing device. Naturally, its price was steep, 310,000 star coins. But since Su Qianqian wasn't short on money anymore, that amount hardly fazed her. She placed her hand into the instrument slot, and immediately, a chilling sensation spread through her palm and up her arm, scanning her entire body at incredible speed. A semi-transparent screen appeared above the device, resembling a data panel. Su Qianqian couldn't help but marvel. When did the cultivation world start using things that looked like high-tech devices? She focused on the displayed data. Name: Su Qianqian. Age: 21. Total lifespan: 71 years. You have 50 years left to live. Spiritual root/purity: wood, 99%. Almost monstrous, but just shy of perfection. Ability level: Tier 1 talent: none. You're really weak, aren't you? Aptitude: low. Rankings: low, medium, high, exceptional, monstrous, imperial. Physical fitness: 7/1000. You're weaker than a baby in the cultivation world. Intelligence: 68 out of 100, barely passable. Speed. Overall assessment: a slightly above average ability user by normal standards, but entirely unqualified to become a disciple in the cultivation world. Looking at the snarky comments sprinkled throughout the evaluation, Su Qianqian was speechless. What kind of sentient artifact was this? It actually called her weak. Was her constitution really that bad? Then again, perhaps it was. If it weren't, her parents wouldn't have pushed her off a cliff. Su Qianqian exhaled deeply and quickly accepted the reality. As expected, her wood-based ability was still stuck at Tier 1. Her gaze returned to the spiritual root purity section. 99% purity. It was the only data point the instrument had rated highly. This likely had to do with the ability awakening pill she had taken. The spiritual root wasn't naturally hers, but was granted by the pill, unaffected by her weak constitution. Still, with such high purity, why was her ability progression so slow? Her eyes shifted to the aptitude section.
Low.
The lowest level. Well, that explained it. Without hesitation, Su Qianqian pulled out the high-grade genetic modification serum she had obtained from the interstellar dimension. She refused to believe that, after injecting the serum, her aptitude would still be so poor. Holding the syringe filled with emerald green liquid, Su Qianqian hesitated. Was she supposed to inject it directly? Were there any side effects? Any precautions to take before or after injection? Frustrated, she slapped her forehead. She really should have asked the interstellar merchant for detailed instructions when she acquired the serum. Opening the dimensional trading system, she sent a message. Hello, could you please send me a usage manual for the genetic modification serum? The message was sent, but the merchant didn't reply. They were likely offline, perhaps busy figuring out how to cultivate the red lingji.
Sukyangkyan sighed in frustration.
Who knew when they'd respond? Just then, a familiar voice called out from outside the cave. Qianqian. Quickly, Su Qianqian closed the trading system, put away the genetic modification serum, and walked out. The moment she stepped outside, Jiao rushed over and hugged her tightly. Qianqian, you scared me to death. Where did you run off to? Do you have any idea how worried I've been these past 2 days? Su Qianqian froze for a moment, hearing the concern in Jiao's voice. Her nose stung, and she felt a wave of emotion well up inside her. She sniffled softly, raised her arms to hug Jiao back, and said in a quiet voice, Jiao, thank you. I'm fine now. Jiao released her after giving her a once-over to make sure she was unharmed, finally breathing a sigh of relief. Qianqian, you came back without telling me, making me worry for no reason. Luckily, Lang Yan told me, and even asked me to check on you. By the way, what happened these past few days? Lang Yan seemed really weird when he came to find me. Su Qianqian turned her head to the side, her voice low. Nothing. Jiao eyed her suspiciously, but couldn't help offering some comfort. Qianqian, Lang Yan is used to being a loner, and isn't very good at dealing with women. Sometimes he can be a bit dense. If he upset you, don't be too mad. He searched the mountain for you for 2 days and nights, so. It's really nothing, Su Qianqian interrupted her. Jiao, there's nothing going on between us. She understood that Lang Yan meant well. She had indeed been reckless in venturing into the misty forest this time. But she didn't regret it. The trip, though dangerous, had also been full of opportunities. It had been a valuable learning experience for her, offering a glimpse of life outside the tribe. Moreover, the treasures she had acquired in the misty forest made it all worthwhile. Jiao looked at Su Qianqian, whose calm and gentle demeanor now carried a faint air of detachment, and was momentarily stunned. For some reason, she felt that the girl before her had changed. Jiao couldn't help but feel a pang of sadness at the subtle change in Su Qianqian's demeanor. But she quickly suppressed this feeling, forcing a smile as she asked, By the way, Qianqian, what were you doing on the mountain these past few days? Lang Yan wouldn't tell me anything. Su Qianqian replied truthfully, I went to the mountain to look for herbs for the sick in the tribe. Really? Jiao's eyes lit up instantly. What kind of herbs did you find? After a moment's hesitation, Su Qianqian took a stalk of sweet wormwood from her storage pouch and explained, This is sweet wormwood. It can cure the illness spreading in the tribe. That's amazing! Jiao exclaimed excitedly as she carefully took the herb from Su Qianqian. How should we use it? Do we eat it raw, or grind it into powder? Hearing this, Su Qianqian froze for a moment. You believe me? Of course. Jiao nodded without hesitation. Qianqian, you're not just a shaman. You're the messenger of the beast god. You've done so much for us, teaching us how to transplant red fruits, making straw shoes for us, showing us how to cook delicious meals. You're so kind, so of course I believe you. Jiao started counting Su Qianqian's contributions on her fingers, listing them one by one. By the end, she gave Su Qianqian a big, warm hug. You're the kindest, smartest woman I've ever met. Whatever you say, I'll believe you. As Jiao embraced her, Su Qianqian could no longer hold back the day's pent-up grievances. Tears streamed down her face. Why are you crying? Jiao asked in a panic, quickly wiping Su Qianqian's face with her hand. Afraid that Jiao might notice the dirt and grime on her face, Su Qianqian turned her head and wiped her tears away herself. Thank you, Jiao. Thank you so much. There, let it all out, Jiao said softly. She seemed to sense Su Qianqian's unspoken sorrow, but didn't press her for an explanation. Instead, she gently patted her shoulder, silently offering comfort. After drying her tears, Su Qianqian looked at the sweet wormwood still in Jiao's hands and suddenly remembered something. Jiao, you need to go home right now and brew this into a herbal soup. Drinking it will help prevent the illness. Malaria was highly contagious, and Su Qianqian couldn't risk Jiao falling ill, especially since she was taking care of her sick mate. Jiao nodded quickly, agreeing without hesitation. Still, Su Qianqian wasn't entirely reassured. She decided to follow Jiao home to ensure she brewed and drank the herbal soup herself. When they arrived at the cave, they found Heir Zhu lying on the stone bed, barely breathing and completely unattended. Jiao rushed to him, her voice filled with worry. "Where's Heir Lu? Isn't he supposed to be taking care of you? Where did he go?" Heir Zhu, now in a worse state than when Su Qianqian had last seen him, weakly replied he went to get medicine from the shaman. Whether it was due to his illness or something else, Heir Zhu's attitude toward Jiao was cold and indifferent. He didn't even spare her a glance, lying there like a lifeless corpse. Jiao wasn't upset by his behavior. She continued to speak softly. "Do you want some water? Or maybe something to eat?" Heir Zhu ignored her completely, clearly resigned to his fate. Just as Jiao was about to ask again, Heir Lu burst into the cave, his face brimming with excitement.
Etsu.
"I got the medicine. The shaman's divine medicine is here. Once you take it, you'll definitely—" His words came to an abrupt halt when he noticed Su Qianqian in the cave. His expression darkened instantly. "What are you doing here?" he asked, his tone hostile. His gaze shifted to the sweet wormwood in Jiao's hands, and his disdain grew. "What? You think Jiao is gullible, so you want to trick her into eating the weeds you picked up? I already heard about what happened in the chief's cave from Lanti. You're really persistent, aren't you?" Hearing this, Su Qianqian's expression turned cold. "Heir Lu, what's that supposed to mean?" Jiao immediately scolded him. "This is sweet wormwood, herbs Qianqian risked her life to find for our tribe. How can you talk about her like that?"
Elu sneert.
"Herbs she risked her life for?
Ha.
If you admire her so much, then go ahead and eat the weeds she brought back. Just don't expect us to. We'll stick with the shaman's divine medicine." With that, he walked over to the barely conscious Heir Zhu, pulled out a bundle wrapped in leaves, and unwrapped it to reveal some black powder. "Heir Zhu, this is the shaman's divine medicine. If you take this, you'll be cured." Heir Zhu's hollow, lifeless eyes shifted to the powder in Heir Lu's hands. "Really? Of course," Heir Lu said confidently, throwing a smug glance at Su Qianqian. "This was personally given by the shaman. Many beasts in the tribe have taken this medicine. As soon as they took it, their pain disappeared, and they became full of energy, running, jumping, and even ready to go hunting in the back mountain. Everyone is at the square right now, receiving the shaman's medicine." Hearing this, Heir Zhu seemed to regain some strength and tried to sit up. Heir Lu quickly helped him up and prepared to feed him the medicine.
"Wait." Su Qianqian interrupted. "Don't take that.
It's poison." Heir Lu's face immediately darkened. "What? So just because no one wants to eat the weeds you picked, now you won't even let us take the shaman's medicine?" He shot Su Qianqian a scornful look, only to find her staring at the powder in his hands with a grim, almost fearful expression. Su Qianqian couldn't believe her eyes. The powder in Heir Lu's hands wasn't medicine for malaria, it was poison. Well, not exactly poison. The substance was aconite, a herb known for its effects on the nervous system. It could temporarily stimulate and numb the nerves, providing pain relief. It was often used as an anesthetic, but aconite was a neurotoxin. While it offered significant pain relief, it came with severe side effects. In large doses, it could cause poisoning, numbness, dizziness, difficulty breathing, confusion, seizures, and even death. And judging by the amount of finely ground aconite powder in Heir Lu's hands, it was a lethal dose. Su Qianqian's expression grew darker as she stared at the powder, her gaze filled with dread as though she were looking at a deadly beast.
Elu gré impatient.
"Enough. Haven't you caused enough trouble? Do you really think you can turn black into white? How dare you claim that the shaman's divine medicine is poison? If you've got nothing better to do, get out of here and stop interfering with Heir Zhu taking his medicine." Even Heir Zhu, lying on the stone bed, looked at her with annoyance. Su Qianqian took a deep breath. "Fine. You can't reason with someone who's determined to die. If they wanted to consume the aconite, so be it. Her gaze shifted to the stunned Ah Jiao. She stepped forward, grabbed Ah Jiao's hand tightly, and asked firmly, "Ah Jiao, do you trust me?" Although Ah Jiao's face still showed confusion, she nodded resolutely. "Qianqian, I trust you." "Then you mustn't touch the medicine they're handing out." "Not even a little." Su Qianqian's expression was more serious than ever. All right. Ah Jiao was a bit startled by Su Qianqian's intensity, but obediently nodded. "Don't worry, Qianqian. I won't take their divine medicine." Hearing Ah Jiao's firm promise, Su Qianqian didn't waste another moment. She left the cave in a hurry. She quickly made her way to the tribe square, and as Lu had said, the chief and the shaman were distributing the so-called divine medicine. Tribe members, like they were lining up to collect freshly hunted prey, formed a long queue to receive it. But it wasn't divine medicine. Su Qianqian saw the sick tribesmen who had taken the aconite powder become unusually energetic and lively. That was just the anesthetic effect of the aconite. The pain from their illness was numbed by the aconite, so they naturally didn't feel it anymore. But the illness was still there, and once the anesthesia wore off, the neurotoxins would wreak havoc on their bodies, causing severe harm to their mental and physical health. In the square, nearly every sick tribesman had taken the aconite powder. Without even using water, they swallowed it on the spot. These untreated and unprocessed aconite powders were far more dangerous than anyone could imagine. Even as a refined anesthetic, it required precise handling. And here they were, swallowing it raw. Su Qianqian was so stunned by their recklessness that she didn't know what to say. At that moment, the shaman, having just finished distributing medicine, noticed her in the corner of the square. A sly smile tugged at her lips as she pulled the chief aside and loudly announced to the gathered tribespeople, "I've checked, and we still have plenty of divine medicine left. I've decided to distribute it for free to those who aren't sick as well. If you take this medicine, it can prevent you from getting sick." The crowd erupted in excitement. Free divine medicine? What luck! It was well known that even a basic consultation with the shaman usually cost 5 animal hides. Now she was giving out medicine for free? No one could resist the lure of free benefits. The tribespeople eagerly lined up again, their faces brimming with anticipation. Watching this, Su Qianqian's expression darkened. Is this shaman trying to kill the entire tribe? At that moment, nearly all the tribespeople were gathered in the square, standing in a long line before the shaman. Su Qianqian's gaze swept through the crowd, and she spotted a few familiar faces, honest and kind tribespeople who had once come to her to learn how to weave brooms or to buy straw shoes. Unlike Lanty, who was sharp-tongued and bitter, these people had treated her, an outsider, with genuine kindness. She couldn't stand by and watch these innocent people be harmed. Taking a deep breath, Su Qianqian decisively stepped forward. At that moment, the shaman was handing out medicine to Mu, who had been dragged there by his companions. She wore a rare, kind expression as she said, "Mu, you're diligent and honest. Have you considered becoming my son Luo's mate?" Mu's fingers froze around the medicine packet. He forced a stiff smile and replied, "I'd rather not. I'm still young and wouldn't be able to take good care of your Luo." "True, you're young and lack responsibility." "Forget it then," the shaman said dismissively, her gaze shifting toward Lang Yen in the distance. "Go call Lang Yen for me. As thanks, I'll give you another packet of divine medicine."
Mu hesitated. Well, what?
"You think I'm lying to you?" The shaman snapped, shoving another heavy packet of aconite powder into his hands without hesitation. Mu still didn't move.
"I'm sorry, shaman."
"I think this is something you should ask him yourself. I can't make the decision for him." With that, he handed the packet of medicine back to the shaman and turned to leave. "You!" The shaman cursed under her breath before snarling. "Humph. I have this life-saving medicine, and yet I can't even get you to run an errand?
Fine, Mu.
If you get seriously ill, don't come crawling to me for help." Mu paused mid-step and turned back, ready to say something. But before he could, A slender hand reached out and slapped the medicine packet from his hands. Enough! Su Qianqian's angry voice rang out. Shaman, stop this. Don't harm anyone else. Qianqian? Heimu looked at her in surprise, completely unconcerned that she had knocked away his only medicine. Instead, he asked worriedly, "You're back? How have you been these past few days? Were you hurt?" Hearing the same kind and concerned tone as Ah Jiao's, Su Qianqian suppressed the bitterness welling up inside her and shook her head. Then she turned to the chief and said firmly, "Chief, please order the shaman to stop distributing this medicine. It's not divine medicine. It's aconite. It's poisonous and can't be consumed." Her voice was loud enough for everyone in the square to hear. The crowd froze, staring at her in shock. Even the chief was taken aback. What? Young lady, are you saying the divine medicine is poisonous?
Yes. Shuqianqian nodded emphatically.
The medicine the shaman is giving out numbs the nerves and relieves pain, which is why sick tribespeople feel better after taking it. But it contains highly toxic substances. If taken in excess, it can kill. At her words, the crowd panicked, with many hastily throwing the aconite powder to the ground. But a few tribespeople stood up to argue. "What do you know, little girl? This is the shaman's divine medicine. How dare you call it poison?" "Exactly." Lanty stepped forward, adding fuel to the fire. "Su Qianqian, you're so malicious. Just because the chief wouldn't use the weeds you picked, you're trying to trick everyone into thinking the shaman's medicine is poison. You don't want anyone to recover, do you?" Some tribespeople, swayed by Lanty's words, began to look at Su Qianqian with discontent. But others still stood by her. "Chief, I don't think the young lady is joking. She's a shaman too. Why would she lie to us?" The chief looked between the two groups, then at the spilled aconite powder on the ground, clearly at a loss. Enough! The shaman, now furious, glared at the tribespeople who defended Su Qianqian. "You ungrateful wretches! I leave the tribe for a few months, and you let her buy you over? You believe everything she says?" We haven't been bought." One of the tribespeople muttered timidly. "The young lady has been really kind to us, and she knows so much." Their words only made the shaman angrier.
"Fine.
If you side with her, give back my divine medicine. I won't let you have it anymore. Even if you beg me on your knees, you won't get another dose." Hearing these words, Su Qianqian let out a long sigh of relief. At least some of the tribespeople still believe me. As long as this small group of people trusted her, all her efforts wouldn't be in vain. At least they would survive and avoid being harmed by the shaman's divine medicine. The shaman, however, stood there with her face dark and her eyes blazing with anger. But she quickly calmed herself, no longer looking at Su Qianqian. Instead, she turned to the crowd with a pitiful expression and said in a hurt tone, "This divine medicine is something I painstakingly created for everyone. Since you all don't believe me, I won't say anything more. Please return the medicine I gave out for free." Hearing this, the group of tribespeople who had taken the aconite powder panicked.
"No, shaman.
You promised to give this medicine to us for free." With that, they no longer cared about Su Qianqian's identity as a female, shouting angrily at her instead. "Young lady, we know you're knowledgeable, but when it comes to healing and saving lives, you're no match for the shaman. She's been treating illnesses in the tribe for decades, and you're just a young girl. How could you possibly know better than her? Stop spreading nonsense and slandering the shaman's divine medicine. Even if it's poison, we're willing to take it." Even if it's poison, they're willing to take it? Su Qianqian couldn't help but laugh coldly at their words.
"Fine.
If that's what they want, I won't waste my breath trying to save them. As long as the ones who trust me survive, that's enough." "Enough. Stop arguing." The chief finally spoke, unable to endure the escalating chaos. He turned to Su Qianqian, his expression tinged with guilt. "Young lady, I know you mean well for our Grey Wolf tribe, but when it comes to the divine medicine, I still choose to trust the shaman. Please stop talking." Hearing this, Su Qianqian pursed her lips. "Chief, do you not believe me either?" The chief turned his head away, avoiding her questioning gaze, unable to respond. Watching this unfold, Su Qianqian felt her heart grow cold.
Fine.
If even the chief sides with the shaman, there's nothing more for me to say. The Grey Wolf tribe was no longer a place for her to stay. With that thought, Su Qianqian turned and left without hesitation. Seeing her resolute departure, Lanty sneered, believing she was leaving out of guilt.
Ha!
Su Qianqian, you're just an ignorant outsider. You don't understand anything and only know how to act mysteriously. You dare question the shaman's divine medicine and even try to scare everyone by claiming it's poison? What a joke. Everyone here has taken this medicine. Why hasn't anyone died yet?
Exactly.
Exactly. Iluo's 2 cubs clapped excitedly at Su Qianqian's retreating figure. You ugly freak. All you do is drag the tribe down. Just get out of here already. Ha ha ha. Leave. But before their laughter faded, the 2 cubs suddenly clutched their stomachs in agony, their faces contorted as they collapsed to the ground. What's wrong? My children, what's wrong? Iluo's 2 mates rushed forward in panic. The commotion drew the crowd's attention. The 2 cubs were on the ground, convulsing violently, struggling to breathe, foam spilling from their mouths, and their faces twisted in a horrifying expression. The crowd was stunned. What was happening? From the edge of the crowd, Su Qianqian's cold voice rang out. They've been poisoned by aconite. How is that possible? Iluo's 2 mates cried out in disbelief. They were fine just now, running, jumping. How could they be poisoned? Su Qianqian shot them a frosty glance, recognizing them as the ones who had been shouting the loudest earlier. She sneered. I already said that aconite is a neurotoxin that numbs the body's pain. That's why they didn't feel any discomfort and could move around. But once the anesthetic effect wears off, the poison sets in, leading to death. But why should I explain myself? You wouldn't believe me anyway, no matter what I said. The 2 mates froze, their faces stiff, unable to say another word. The shaman was Iluo's biological mother, and they were Iluo's mates. Of course, they had to unconditionally support the shaman and suppress Su Qianqian. How else would they earn Iluo's favor? But just then, one of the convulsing cubs suddenly went still. The sight caused the nearby female beast folk to let out a piercing scream.
He's not breathing.
One of Iluo's mates, trembling, reached out to check the cub's breath. No air.
Dead.
My child. The man collapsed, clutching the lifeless cub in his arms, his cries of anguish echoing through the square. Male beast folk valued their offspring deeply, especially their own children. Cubs represented the tribe's future. Losing one so suddenly was a devastating blow. The chief stood there in stunned disbelief, as if frozen by the scene before him. After a long pause, he seemed to snap back to reality. He turned his furious gaze to the shaman, his voice trembling with rage. What is going on? Shaman, didn't you say your divine medicine was safe? Iluo's cubs were the first to take it. Why has this happened? The shaman stood stiffly, her face pale with shock and disbelief.
This can't be.
This is divine medicine. How could it kill someone? But before she could finish, several adult beast folk suddenly clutched their stomachs and collapsed to the ground in agony. They convulsed violently, foam forming at their mouths, and their breathing became labored. All of them were beast folk who had earlier swallowed large amounts of the aconite powder. This scene threw the entire tribe into chaos. Teeth foaming at the mouth, too. Just like the young lady said. The aconite powder really is poisonous. Panic swept through the crowd. Tribespeople threw the aconite powder to the ground in terror. Some even used their fingers to induce vomiting, desperately trying to expel what they had consumed. The cub still lying on the ground stared at his lifeless brother, terror filling his eyes. He gasped for air, his breathing labored and shallow. He wanted to speak, but the aconite's neurotoxins had numbed his tongue and body. His consciousness was fading fast. Father, I feel terrible.
Help me.
The frail, trembling voice seemed to awaken everyone in the square. They all turned their eyes to Su Qianqian. The grieving father collapsed at Su Qianqian's feet with a thud, kneeling before her.
Please.
Please save my child. I beg you. If you know this is aconite poisoning, you must know how to save him. Right? Su Qianqian looked at the kneeling male beast man in front of her, her expression cold and unmoved. Why should I save them? Didn't you all refuse to believe me? Didn't they call me an ugly freak and tell me to leave? Why should I save them now? Her voice, steady and firm, echoed through the square, making all the gathered beastmen hang their heads in shame. Especially those who had mocked her earlier. They felt so humiliated they wished they could dig a hole and bury themselves in it. Please, blame me if you want, hate me if you must. But I beg you, save my child. The man desperately kowtowed, repeatedly hitting his forehead against the ground as he pleaded for Su Qianqian to save his last remaining cub. Su Qianqian pressed her lips together and said nothing. Little female. The chief, who had been silent until now, stepped forward. To everyone's shock, his aged body knelt before Su Qianqian. I was wrong. We were all wrong. I beg you, please save our Grey Wolf tribe. His forehead hit the ground heavily, leaving a swollen bruise almost instantly. The beastmen around him, including the toughest warriors, had tears in their eyes. This was their chief, a figure of great authority and respect, kneeling before a young female for the sake of his people. Watching this, Su Qianqian felt her resolve soften. She thought back to her time in the Grey Wolf tribe. Over the past few months, she had faced rejection and ridicule as an outsider. She had been called an ugly freak and a burden to the tribe. Her childhood experiences with neglect and cruelty had shaped her sensitive and self-conscious nature. Being called a burden had cut deeply, even though she never showed it. That was why she worked tirelessly to prove herself, relying on no one but herself, fetching food, cooking, cleaning, all done by her own hands. She had thought about leaving the tribe countless times. She believed that once her heart was filled with enough disappointment and sorrow, she would leave without hesitation. But there had always been a few people like Ah Jiao who warmed her heart at just the right moments. Thinking of this, Su Qianqian raised her head and looked around the square at the gathered beastmen. Among them were some who had treated her with genuine kindness and respect. In this world, there would always be people who harbored malice toward you, but there would also be those who showed you kindness. Should she let the actions of the wicked blind her to the good? She realized she couldn't. After a long pause, Su Qianqian let out a deep breath, stepped forward, and helped the chief to his feet. She spoke slowly but firmly, I can save them, but I can't guarantee their survival. The amount of aconite powder they consumed is far too much. The beastmen's constitutions were stronger than those of ordinary humans. If it had been humans, they would have succumbed to the poison long ago. The fact that they had lasted this long was already remarkable. The two cubs, having consumed the aconite first, were naturally the first to show symptoms. Su Qianqian's voice turned urgent. If this continues, the Grey Wolf tribe will end up like the Black Tiger tribe. All right. The chief was already sobbing uncontrollably. He hadn't expected Su Qianqian to be willing to help despite everything. Overwhelmed by guilt and gratitude, he could only nod repeatedly. Fortunately, the priest still retained his composure. He stepped forward and said, Little female, tell us what to do, and we will do as you say. Su Qianqian nodded and began to issue instructions. First, use your fingers to induce vomiting. Try to expel as much of the aconite powder as possible. Then, boil a pot of hot water for me. The beastmen who had consumed the aconite powder didn't dare hesitate for a moment. They immediately began gagging themselves to induce vomiting. Those who hadn't consumed the powder stepped forward to help, some assisting the poison beastmen in vomiting while others gathered firewood to start a fire. Su Qianqian opened her dimensional trading system and purchased a jar of honey. For aconite poisoning, modern medicine had no specific antidote. Treatment usually involved inducing vomiting, gastric lavage, and other detoxification methods. The toxicity of aconite came from alkaloids like aconitine. Honey water or mung bean soup could help neutralize these alkaloids, which was why Su Qianqian had asked for hot water. The beastmen quickly built a makeshift stove in the square and boiled a pot of water in a stone pot. Su Qianqian stepped forward, poured the honey into the hot water and stirred it until it dissolved. She then instructed the beast men to serve it to the poisoned individuals. They thought the honey water was the antidote, but Su Qianqian explained, each poison beast man needs to drink 3 large bowls of honey water. After that, induce vomiting again. Then drink more honey water and vomit again. Repeat until the vomit is clear, colorless, and odorless. Hearing this, the beast men looked dismayed. Repeated vomiting? Wasn't that just torture? But no one dared defy Su Qianqian's instructions. No matter how uncomfortable it was, they obediently followed her orders. This method of repeated vomiting and gastric lavage was the simplest and most effective way to detoxify without modern medical equipment. Vomiting was the body's natural defense mechanism for expelling toxins from the stomach. The square was soon filled with the sounds of retching, and the ground became littered with piles of vomit.
Su Qianqian watched unflinchingly.
Just then, a large hand covered her eyes. "Don't stare at it for too long. It's dirty," a deep male voice said by her ear. "Tell me what to do, I'll handle it." Su Qianqian paused briefly before brushing his hand away. She replied calmly, "Thank you, but I'll do it myself." Lang Yan's face momentarily darkened with disappointment. Noticing his expression, Su Qianqian felt a twinge of guilt. She sighed and said, "Go help them with the vomiting. I need to stay here to monitor their condition." It wasn't that she enjoyed doing everything herself, but she needed to observe the color and consistency of the vomit to determine the next steps. Hearing her words, Lang Yan's face finally showed a faint smile of relief.
All right.
After Lang Yan left, Su Qianqian went to check on Yi Luo's surviving cub. Yi Luo had 2 cubs and more than 10 mates. As a result, the cubs were cherished and spoiled by everyone. Now, over 10 adult beast men were crowded around the surviving cub, helping him vomit and drink honey water. The cub seemed to understand that this was to save his life. Though he was covered in saliva and mucus from the repeated vomiting and visibly miserable, he didn't utter a single complaint. When he saw Su Qianqian approaching, the surrounding beast men lowered their heads in shame. The cub, too, avoided her gaze, burying his head in the large stone bowl of honey water. Su Qianqian pretended not to notice. She remained composed as she walked over to inspect the cub's vomit. The vomit was gradually becoming clearer, which was a good sign. Although the cub had been the first to consume the aconite powder, he hadn't taken a large amount. Most of the poison in his stomach had already been expelled. As for the toxins that had entered his intestines, those would have to be expelled through purging. As Su Qianqian carefully poured the magnesium sulfate solution into the honey water, she maintained a calm and steady tone. "Drink this bowl of honey water. You won't need to induce vomiting anymore, but you will have diarrhea. It will expel the remaining toxins from your intestines." Magnesium sulfate, a common osmotic laxative and cholagogue, was an effective way to induce bowel movements and reduce localized swelling. It was a staple in modern medicine for detoxification and cost only a few $100 coins for a large box. After explaining, Su Qianqian glanced around at the surrounding beast men. "After you've vomited out the aconite powder from your stomachs, come to me to get this medicine. But let me make this clear. It's a laxative. You'll experience diarrhea, which will help flush out the residual toxins in your intestines. If you don't want to take it, I won't force you." Hearing this, none of the beast men hesitated. They quickly surrounded her, eager to get the medicine. Su Qianqian distributed the magnesium sulfate solution to those who came to her. She controlled the dosage carefully, ensuring it remained within safe limits, even when some beast men asked for more. Too much could lead to severe dehydration, and she wasn't about to risk that. Yi Luo's surviving cub had a long bout of diarrhea. His small face turned pale, but the bluish-purple tint on his lips noticeably faded. Although he still looked weak and listless, the convulsions and numbness were gone. The beast men diligently followed Su Qianqian's instructions, inducing vomiting, washing out their stomachs, and using the laxative as directed. Gradually, those who had expelled the aconite toxins began regaining consciousness. While the symptoms of malaria remained, their conditions were far less severe. Seeing this, Su Qianqian finally allowed herself a moment to breathe. The beastmen's physical resilience was even more remarkable than she had imagined, enabling them to recover so quickly. But she didn't let her guard down. She took out the sweet wormwood she had gathered from the misty forest and prepared to boil it in the stone pot. Although the aconite poison had been neutralized, the malaria symptoms still needed to be addressed. Having come this far, Su Qianqian wasn't about to leave the job half done. She saw it as repaying the Grey Wolf tribe for sheltering her over the past few months. However, just as she placed the sweet wormwood into the pot, a sharp voice rang out. "Stop. Are you trying to harm everyone? You liar. That weed of yours has no medicinal value." Su Qianqian's hand paused mid-motion, and she turned toward the source of the voice. The shaman stood there, her face twisted with rage. She glared at Su Qianqian and attempted to incite the beastmen again. "How can you trust this outsider? I am the shaman of the Grey Wolf tribe. Even if you don't trust me, how can you trust her, a mere outsider?" This time, however, not a single person echoed her words. The beastmen stared at her with cold, accusatory eyes, as if waiting to see how she would try to twist the truth and smear Su Qianqian. "It seems, shaman, that you still don't understand the reality of the situation," the priest finally said, stepping forward. He sighed heavily, shaking his head. "You've caused immense harm to the Grey Wolf tribe. If it weren't for this young female, we wouldn't have just followed in the footsteps of the Black Tiger tribe. We would have faced total annihilation." Hearing this, the shaman could no longer keep her composure. She screamed hysterically, "I didn't do anything wrong. Everything I did was for the good of the tribe." She then turned to the chief, her expression filled with desperation. "Chief, even if no one else believes me, you must. You've seen how much effort I've poured into the tribe over the years, how I've treated everyone's illnesses with all my heart." The chief let out a deep sigh, his face filled with weariness. Finally, he turned to Lang Yen and said, "Lang Yen, take her to the confinement cave. We'll deal with her later."
No.
"No. Chief, you can't do this to me," the shaman screamed, trying to rush forward and plead with the chief. But Lang Yen dragged her away effortlessly, with one hand. Su Qianqian watched the scene unfold with an indifferent expression. How they would punish the shaman, whether they would be lenient as they had been with Landy, no longer mattered to her. After all, the people the shaman had harmed were members of the Grey Wolf tribe, not her. As the shaman's anguished cries faded into the distance, the chief cautiously turned to Su Qianqian. He hesitated for a moment before asking, "Young lady, does the medicine you're making really work?" It was the same question as before. But this time, Su Qianqian merely lifted the sweet wormwood in her hand with indifference. "I'm not sure. I don't have any experience and can't guarantee anything. If you don't trust me, I won't insist. After all, it's not me suffering from the illness."
No.
"We trust you. Of course, we trust you," the chief said hurriedly, and the surrounding beastmen quickly echoed his sentiment. "Little female, we all trust you. No matter what medicine you give us, we'll believe in you." The aconite poisoning incident had left the beast men with complete trust in Su Qianqian. Su Qianqian gave a faint smile but said nothing. She quietly continued boiling the sweet wormwood in the stone pot, stirring it constantly with a wooden stick. He Mu came over to help her, expressing his heartfelt gratitude. "Thank you, young lady. If it weren't for you stepping in and stopping the shaman, I might have eaten the aconite powder too." Su Qianqian let him take over the stirring, her face softening with a slight smile. "No need to thank me. You helped me a lot on the mountain before." Hearing her mention the mountain, He Mu thought of Lanty. He instinctively glanced around but didn't see Lanty among the crowd in the square. "Forget it. Once this is over, I'll make sure the chief gives Lanty a proper punishment for slandering the young lady." It was completely unacceptable. With He Mu's help, the sweet wormwood decoction was soon ready. The medicine was ladled into bowls and distributed to the beastmen. Perhaps due to the higher potency of the sweet wormwood grown in this world, the beastmen began to feel its effects shortly after drinking it. Those who had been sick gradually regained some strength, and their symptoms of headaches and nausea began to subside. They were astonished by the changes in their bodies. Although the improvements were slight, they were undeniable, proof that the sweet wormwood was effective. If they continued drinking it, wouldn't they eventually recover completely? Excited and grateful, all eyes turned toward the pot of medicine Su Qianqian had brewed. But Su Qianqian spoke up, her tone calm and firm. Medicine is 3 parts poison. You've just been detoxified from the aconite. This sweet wormwood decoction must be consumed in moderation, 3 times a day, 1 bowl each time. Understood. Understood. The beastmen nodded fervently, not daring to disobey her instructions. Now, whatever Su Qianqian said, they obeyed without question. Their trust and reverence for her had reached unprecedented levels. The effectiveness of the sweet wormwood left no doubt in their minds. Su Qianqian was a healer far superior to the shaman, a true miracle worker. At that moment, Iluo's mates brought their surviving cub forward. The cub's complexion had visibly improved after drinking the medicine. The group knelt before Su Qianqian in unison, their voices trembling as they said, "We're sorry." And "Thank you." Su Qianqian froze for a moment, caught off guard by their gesture. The young cub had lowered, didn't dare to meet her gaze. His small face was filled with guilt as he obediently knelt on the ground. After 2 seconds of hesitation, Su Qianqian came back to her senses. She silently pulled the cub to his feet, but didn't say much. Though the young cub had insulted her before, she understood that children's mistakes often stemmed from the influence of their parents' teachings, unless the child was inherently malicious. Su Qianqian wasn't one to hold grudges against children. But for the parents who shaped such behavior, she wouldn't easily forgive them. Her gaze shifted to Iluo, who stood in the corner and hadn't said a word throughout the ordeal. The 2 cubs had called her ugly and accused her of being a burden to the tribe. Such words. Where had young cubs learned them from? Su Qianqian's eyes carried a faint chill as she stared at Iluo. Could this arrogant and domineering female, known for her pride, have been the one to teach her cubs to say such things? Iluo met her gaze, but showed no emotion on her face. "Mother!" The cub cried as he ran toward Iluo, tears streaming down his cheeks. He threw himself into her arms, sobbing uncontrollably, as if terrified of losing her. Iluo stiffly pushed the cub away, clearly unused to such displays of affection. She rarely cared for the cubs herself, as tending to them was usually left to others. But as she looked at the only surviving cub clinging to her and bawling as though he had narrowly escaped death, Iluo's hand hesitated. After 2 seconds of internal struggle, she awkwardly placed her large hand on the cub's head and patted him gently. The onlookers, watching this rare moment, couldn't help but feel their eyes sting with emotion. They felt a mix of fear and relief, much like the cub did. If not for Su Qianqian, those who had consumed the aconite powder might have already gone to meet the beast god. Now, they could only look at their loved ones with gratitude and lingering dread. Su Qianqian observed Iluo holding the cub and then shifted her gaze away. It wasn't her. A mother who wasn't even close to her cubs wouldn't have taught them to say such things. Although Su Qianqian hadn't interacted much with Iluo, she could see that Iluo was the kind of beast man who cared only about herself. Aside from her shaman mother, no one else seemed to matter to her. Not enough for her to spread malicious gossip about others.
So, who is it?
Su Qianqian's gaze subtly swept across the square. Before she could dwell on it further, Jiao came running toward her, panic etched across her face. "Qianqian, something's wrong. Zhu is dying. Please save him." The crowd turned to look. Behind Jiao, Lu followed anxiously, carrying a nearly lifeless Zhu on his back. As the onlookers caught sight of Zhu, they almost didn't recognize him. He had grown alarmingly thin, his skin pale as a corpse's. Blood poured from his mouth with every jolt, staining his ghostly white skin in stark, shocking contrast. What happened to him? Someone cried out in alarm. Didn't he take the young lady's antidote? Lu placed Zhu gently on the ground, panting heavily. "I tried to make him vomit, but he refused. He wouldn't drink the antidote either." As he spoke, Ere Lu glanced at Su Qianqian, his expression conflicted. Ah Jiao, who was already in tears, seemed utterly helpless. While everyone else had been busy detoxifying themselves under Su Qianqian's guidance, Heir Zhu had stubbornly refused to follow her instructions. He wouldn't induce vomiting or drink the honey water. His defiance, even against Heir Lu's pleas, had allowed the poison to spread throughout his body, leaving him in this near-death state. Su Qianqian stepped forward and carefully examined Heir Zhu's condition before shaking her head in resignation. Even with the beastmen's strong constitutions, Heir Zhu's body couldn't withstand both malaria and aconite poisoning. The poison had already invaded his internal organs, causing severe damage. There was nothing more she could do.
Jiao klom to Shu, crying uncontrollably.
Qianqian, please. Please think of something. Isn't there any way to save him? Su Qianqian silently shook her head. If we had acted in time, he could have survived. But the poison has already caused irreparable damage to his organs. He's suffering massive internal bleeding. I can't save him. Hearing this, Jiao collapsed onto Heir Zhu's body, wailing inconsolably.
Etsu, don't die.
Please don't die. Why wouldn't you accept the treatment? Why? Her sobs seemed to stir something in Heir Zhu. His pale, emotionless face showed a flicker of expression as his hollow eyes turned toward her. With great difficulty, his bloodless lips parted to whisper faint words. Why? I want to know why, too. You knew I was unfaithful to you. Why did you still forgive me? Why did you pretend not to notice? Jiao's sobbing stopped abruptly, her body going rigid. The crowd, too, was stunned into silence by Heir Zhu's words. All except for Su Qianqian, who quietly stepped aside as though she had expected this. Heir Zhu's empty gaze drifted away, staring at something unseen in the distance. But his words fell with startling clarity into the ears of everyone present. Ah Jiao, you know I've always despised you. You're stupid, useless, and can't even bear cubs. I deeply regret becoming your mate. But because of the beast mark, I couldn't leave you. So I secretly sought comfort with Landy. You knew all of this. Why did you pretend not to see? Heir Zhu let out a hollow laugh, tears slowly rolling from his lifeless eyes. Maybe this is my karma. Punishment for being unfaithful to a female. I deserve to die. His gaze shifted to Heir Lu, who stood nearby. Brother, you don't have to cover for my misdeeds anymore. This is the punishment I deserve. I wasn't just unfaithful to Jiao, I also conspired with Landy to frame her using lure beast grass. This is all my fault. I deserve this. I don't deserve to be saved. With those words, Heir Zhu suddenly struggled to his feet. Despite his frail and dying state, he summoned an inexplicable burst of strength and, to everyone's shock, threw himself headfirst into the stone statue nearby. It was the statue of the beast god, worshipped by the Grey Wolf tribe. Blood splattered across the base of the statue as Heir Zhu collapsed into a pool of red, his life extinguished. The crowd was left in stunned silence. The crowd remained frozen, struggling to process what they had just witnessed. Heir Zhu's shocking actions were one thing, but the words he had uttered before his death were an even greater blow. Only Jiao, overwhelmed with grief, threw herself onto Heir Zhu's lifeless body, wailing his name over and over again. Her cries grew so hysterical that she nearly fainted. Heir Lu stepped forward, wanting to help her, but was stopped by others. When he looked up, he was met with the judgmental gazes of the gathered beastmen. Heir Lu, did you know about all of Heir Zhu's misdeeds this whole time? Did you help him cover them up? The chief's stern voice rang out, laced with anger and disappointment. Heir Lu lowered his head in silence, unable to respond. His silence spoke volumes. It was an admission of guilt. Unbelievable. Just unbelievable. The chief, shaking with rage, slammed his cane against the ground. To think that the Grey Wolf tribe has raised such ungrateful scum, beasts who betray their mates and dishonor their kin.
Guards.
Take these two disgraceful wretches and lock them in the mountain cave. Starve them for 10 days and then throw them to the beasts in the back mountain. The severity of the punishment drew sharp gasps from the crowd. Even Su Qianqian was slightly surprised. It was clear that the punishment for male wrongdoers in the tribe was much harsher than for females. But she didn't intervene. In the beast world, where females were scarce and highly valued, males like Heir Zhu and Heir Lu, who conspired against and harmed a female like Ah Jiao, deserved nothing less than the punishment they were receiving. As Heir Zhu's lifeless body was dragged away, Su Qianqian's gaze instinctively fell on the beast mark on Ah Jiao's wrist. The mark that had belonged to Heir Zhu was fading, disappearing bit by bit. She recalled something Ah Jiao had said before, that the beast mark was akin to a sacred contract, and betrayal by a male would invoke severe punishment from the beast god. Heir Zhu's tragic end could very well be seen as such divine retribution. Otherwise, why had Yi Luo's cub, who consumed the aconite powder even earlier, been saved, while Heir Zhu had succumbed to the poison that ravaged his internal organs? Perhaps, in some way, all of this had been predestined. Su Qianqian let out a deep sigh. With Heir Zhu and Heir Lu taken away, the matter seemed to have come to a close. But it wasn't over. Before his death, Heir Zhu had named someone else, Lanti. As an accomplice, she couldn't escape her share of the consequences. Where's Lanti? That vile female. Where has she run off to? The chief's voice rang out again, filled with fury. Gone was his usual gentle demeanor, replaced by a mix of disappointment and exasperation. If Lanti's previous mistake of sneaking into the mountain and causing injuries to several tribespeople could be considered forgivable, her infidelity and betrayal of tribal loyalty was an unforgivable transgression. The beast folk held loyalty in the highest regard, considering it a sacred tradition left by the beast god. To violate it was to invite divine wrath and the disdain of all. She's not here. She ran off somewhere, He Mu reported, raising his hand. Another beast man quickly added, when the shaman was being taken away by Lang Yan, I think Lanti secretly followed him. Hearing Lang Yan's name, the crowd suddenly realized something. Lang Yan had been gone for quite a while. Why hadn't he returned yet? The confinement cave wasn't far from the square. It shouldn't have taken him this long. Just as the crowd was growing more puzzled, Lang Yan reappeared. Apologies, he said as he approached the chief, bowing his head slightly. I was delayed on the way back. He straightened and continued, the shaman has been locked in the confinement cave. On my way back, I encountered Lanti. She fled the tribe to avoid punishment. His words left everyone stunned. What? She left? A female leaving the tribe on her own? Does she have a death wish? The wild beasts out there could kill her in seconds. Running off like that is suicide. The reactions ranged from shock to disdain, with many expressing outright scorn. Lanti's actions had angered every beast man present. No one had any sympathy for her anymore. Even Lanti's mates stood silently in a corner, heads lowered like frightened quails, too ashamed to speak up. Despite this, the chief looked anxious. He turned to Lang Yan and asked, Lang Yan, which direction did she go? Lang Yan's expression remained calm as he lowered his head. That I didn't notice.
How could you let her leave the tribe?
The chief stomped his foot in frustration, his voice filled with reproach. She may have committed serious wrongs, but she should still face punishment here. Letting her leave like this. Lang Yan remained silent, his head bowed, refusing to say more about Lanti's escape. Eventually, the chief gave up on pursuing the matter. After all, Lanti had already become a disgrace to the Grey Wolf tribe. Expending resources to find her simply wasn't worth it. With the tribe still recovering from the malaria outbreak, there weren't enough people to spare for such a search anyway. Under the chief's orders, the crowd gradually dispersed, returning to their homes to rest. Su Qianqian had initially planned to check on Ah Jiao but stopped in her tracks when she saw Lang Yan approaching her. The man stood before her, as if wanting to speak, but before he could, Su Qianqian coldly cut him off. You let her go. Though phrased as a question, her tone left no room for doubt.
Lang Yan feitert, momentarily stund.
When he didn't deny it, Su Qianqian's suspicion was confirmed.
Why?
She demanded, her brow furrowed deeply. I thought you would at least stand by my side. Why did you let Lanty go? With Lang Yan's strength, for beast marks, it would have been impossible for Lanty to escape against his will. Clearly, he had let her go. Lang Yan hesitated, his voice low. If I said I did it for you, would you believe me? Su Qianqian scoffed, her tone dripping with sarcasm. What do you think? Lang Yan fell silent again. Have you forgotten what Lanty did to me before? She asked, her voice tinged with disappointment. You helped her escape punishment. Was that supposed to be for my good? Lang Yan, don't use the excuse of doing something for my good to meddle in my affairs. Your so-called good intentions are just another way of hurting me. With that, Su Qianqian didn't spare him another glance. She turned and walked away without hesitation. Her initial plan to visit Jiao was abandoned. She no longer had the energy or mood for it and went straight back to her cave. The malaria outbreak eventually passed. With the help of the sweet wormwood Su Qianqian had gathered, the beast men gradually recovered after drinking bowl after bowl of the herbal decoction. The chief had approached Su Qianqian, wanting to reward her for her selfless actions. But she declined. When asked why, Su Qianqian simply smiled and said it was nothing, it was what she should do. She also refused the tribe's suggestion to make her the new shaman. Left with no choice, the chief could only sigh and leave. As Su Qianqian watched his retreating figure, her gaze shifted to the translucent panel floating before her. The merchant from the modern dimension had finally replied to her message. She had ordered earlier have arrived. With these supplies, she no longer had anything to worry about, and there was no need for her to continue staying in the Grey Wolf tribe and become a burden in the eyes of some orcs. This Artemisia Annua was the last thing she did for the Grey Wolf tribe. I'm so tired. I've been running around most of the city these days just to get these supplies for you. Oh, by the way, I went to many places and used many connections to get those military tents you wanted. They are all equipped with insulation layers and ceiling strips, diesel engines, and large air conditioners. They are fully equipped. This kind of equipment can give you a good outdoor camping experience, whether in the hot desert or in the cold South and North Poles. Su Qianqian looked at the message sent by the other party, lowered the straw curtain covering the cave entrance, and replied, "Thank you. I don't mind if you want to pay extra." "No need to pay extra." The other party immediately replied, "I saw you bought a few red Ganoderma lucidum on the shelf. Considering that I have done my best to prepare supplies for you, can you sell me one at a slightly lower price?" Su Qianqian laughed. "Of course you can." The materials she wanted were indeed difficult to obtain, and the other party also gave her a great discount at the time. Mutual benefit was the only way for the relationship to work, so she naturally would not refuse this small request. "Really? Thank you so much. If you need anything in the future, you can come to me, and I will give you a 30% discount." Su Qianqian sold the red Ganoderma lucidum worth 680,000 star coins to her businessman friend from the modern dimension at a 30% discount. However, Su Qianqian now faces a new problem. Where should these supplies be placed? Su Qianqian looked at the supplies that had not yet been received in the dialogue box and quickly opened the system mall and took a look around. Soon she found what she wanted. Storage ring. From the realm of cultivation, but the price is quite expensive. Su Qianqian looked at the storage ring worth more than 6 million and subconsciously clicked on the shelf of the merchant from the cultivation plane to see if there was anything cheaper. After looking around, I found that the shelves of this friend from the cultivation plane were full of good stuff, such as elixirs for cleansing the marrow and strengthening the bones, longevity fruits that could increase lifespan by 1,000 years, Hunyuan bone-shaping pills that could reshape the body and allow people to grow spiritual roots out of thin air, and Dingyan pills that could keep one's appearance forever. Each one was worth a lot of money. This storage ring worth more than 6 million is the cheapest and least noticeable item in it.
Su Qianqian sighed helplessly.
Forget it. She should go buy a more advanced storage bag to store the supplies. However, at this moment, her dialogue box suddenly lit up. She subconsciously looked up and her heart skipped a beat. It turned out to be the merchant from the cultivation plane who had sent a message to her. "Hello, friend from another world. This is an old monster who has lived for thousands of years."
Su Qianqian quickly replied, "Hello, hello.
I sense that you are browsing my products. Is there anything you want? Well, can you sense this? Is this sensed by spiritual consciousness or by thoughts? This guy could sense that she was looking at his merchandise, so could he also sense what she was doing in the beast world? She read that the cultivators in the novels were very powerful and could use their spiritual sense to spy on everything. Su Qianqian was shocked and confused. Her finger paused on the dialogue box, not knowing what to reply for a moment. The other end sent a message. Don't be afraid. There are barriers between the planes, and we can't sense each other with our abilities. I'm just a high-level merchant in the plane, so I can see that my products have been browsed by those merchants. Well, you can understand this as a benefit given by the system to high-level merchants. Welfare? She remembered what the merchant from the magic plane had said before. When the commodity transaction reached a certain amount, the system would give some benefits. Could this also be considered a kind of welfare? Su Qianqian took a look at the goods on the other party's shelves that were worth tens of millions or hundreds of billions of star coins, and she was instantly relieved. Yes, for a merchant like this from the plane of cultivation, the star coins he earns from selling a treasure may be equal to what she earns from selling in her entire life, so it is natural that he is at a high level. You have been looking at my merchandise shelves for so long. Have you decided what to buy? Su Qianqian was stunned for a moment and replied subconsciously, not yet. The main reason is that it is too expensive and she doesn't have star coins to buy it. The other party quickly sent a message. In that case, let's make a deal. I want your 1,000-year-old Ganoderma lucidum, and you can pick any item on my shelf that is worth less than 100 million, Su Qianqian. It turned out to be for the 1,000-year-old Ganoderma lucidum. Otherwise, why would such a high-handed cultivator take the initiative to privately chat with her, a small businessman in the beast world? Su Qianqian glanced at the items on the other party's shelves that were worth less than 100 million yuan. Except for the storage ring, there was nothing she wanted. She replied, "Thank you, but no thanks. I don't plan to sell this 1,000-year-old Ganoderma lucidum. I plan to put it up for auction." The 1,000-year-old Ganoderma lucidum was hanging on the shelf. She had already marked it as a non-saleable item. This is a function she discovered recently. Ever since she came back from the misty forest, she has been worried about what to do with the corpses of the wild beasts. They can't be put into the storage bags, but she is reluctant to sell them. So she found that other goods can be hung on the shelves and set to an unsaleable state so that she can take them down whenever she wants. She thought that this should be a function deliberately set up by the plane system to stimulate the psychology of those plane merchants who want to buy, but cannot get it. Oh, you are a low-level businessman, but you know about the auction. It seems that I still underestimated you.
Shu Qianqian.
Sure enough, this guy took advantage of her being a newcomer and wanted to the 1,000-year-old Ganoderma lucidum king was cheated away. She won't be fooled. Su Qianqian became more and more determined to sell the Millennium Ganoderma King at an auction. Even the merchants from the cultivation plane want this 1,000-year-old Ganoderma lucidum king so much. The price of this Ganoderma lucidum king must be far more than 90 million. Well, since the Millennium Ganoderma King doesn't want to sell it to me, those few red Ganoderma can be used instead, right? The other party sent another message. Hearing this, Su Qianqian looked at the storage ring worth 6 million and said bluntly, "To be honest, I want to buy a storage ring, but the storage ring you sell is too expensive. I can't afford it with all my star coins added together, so I'm planning to give up." "So, what you want is a storage ring. Why didn't you say so earlier?" When the other party heard that she didn't want to buy it, he quickly sent her a slightly old ring. "You are immortal, right? Then you probably can't use the storage ring worth 6 million in my shelf. After all, you haven't cultivated your spiritual consciousness or soul, so you can't make a contract with a storage ring. But this ring is very suitable for you now, and you only need 5 red Ganoderma lucidum." Su Qianqian looked at the ring that the other party sent to her. It was not like the brand new one sold on a shelf, but it had an ancient atmosphere that had been precipitated by time. The ring was engraved with intricate patterns and looked very luxurious and elegant. She couldn't help but ask, "This ring is so old. Where did you pick it up from?" "I see and hide it from you." The other party laughed and explained, "I actually found this ring on an ancient monk in the ancient ruins. Su Qianqian. That was taken from a dead person. I don't want anything left behind by a dead person. No, when Su Qianqian heard that she didn't want it, the man on the other side hurriedly said, "The ancient monk has long passed away, and the mark of his consciousness on the ring has disappeared, so you can use it without worry. And most importantly, the material of this ring is different from all the rings I have seen. Not only is the space very large, but mortals can also use it by contract." The other party said a lot of benefits, but Su Qianqian was still unmoved. "I don't want it. Since this ring was left by an ancient monk, how could you be willing to exchange it for only 5 red Ganoderma lucidum? This ring must be no good. 5 red Ganoderma lucidum is only 3.4 million star coins. How could the other party sell it to her at such a cheap price?" There was silence on the other side. After a long silence, he sent a message helplessly. "To tell you the truth, this ring has been around for too long, and everything inside has weathered. The ring itself has no other function except for storage. In addition, this ring can only be recognized by dripping blood, and in our cultivation world, it is very taboo to drip blood to recognize the owner. If it is snatched by the enemy, they will use the blood left on the ring to cast a forbidden spell. So this ring has been kept and is useless." Su Qianqian looked at the words the other party had sent, pondering the truth of the words, then clicked on the ring to take a look. The reference price marked by the system was indeed around 3 million. The function was very simple. It could only store things and had no function to protect the owner. Other side shelves can not only store things, but also have a variety of protective abilities. The information marked by the system should not be wrong. Su Qianqian chose to believe it. Just as she was about to type a reply, the other party sent another message. "How about this? If you still feel you're at a disadvantage, how about I compensate you with a few more spiritual fruits?" Spiritual fruit. Su Qianqian's eyes lit up, but she quickly suppressed them. After thinking for a while, she typed a reply. "Forget about the spiritual fruit. I heard that you in the cultivation world eat spiritual rice and drink spiritual spring water that gathers the spiritual energy of heaven and earth. I don't ask for much. How about you give me some spiritual rice to try?" She had read novels, and although the spiritual fruit sounded tempting, it was rich in spiritual power from heaven and earth. She was just a mortal, and if she ate it carelessly, she might explode and die because she couldn't withstand the huge energy inside. She didn't dare to take the risk, so she decided to choose something safer like spiritual rice, which is suitable for mortals to eat. Moreover, she heard that the magical rice in the world of cultivation could prolong the life of mortals if eaten. She did not dare to hope for too much. Previous tests using instruments showed that she could only live to over 70 years old. She only hoped that by eating this magical rice, she could live to be 100 years old. "You only want the spiritual rice?" The other party seemed very surprised. He was clearly unmoved just now, but now he only wanted the spiritual rice as compensation? But the other party didn't ask any more questions and replied, "Okay, I'll put the spiritual rice into the storage ring. You can't regret this deal later. Su Qianqian, don't worry, I won't regret it." She sent 5 red Ganoderma lucidum over, and the transaction was considered a success. The moment she got the ring, Su Qianqian immediately closed the plane trading system. Although it was impossible, she was still very afraid that the merchant from the cultivation plane would sense her through the plane trading system. Su Qianqian took a close look at the storage ring in her hand. The surface was simple and elegant. She didn't know what material it was made of. It felt warm and cool, like jade but not jade. She tried to put it on her finger, but found that the ring was too big, and it didn't fit on any of her fingers. Things in this world of cultivation shouldn't be so old-fashioned. Su Qianqian thought about it, then took out a dagger, pierced her finger, squeezed out a drop of blood, and dripped it on the ring. The ring instantly absorbed her blood, and the ancient and intricate patterns seemed to light up. Su Qianqian was just about to pick up the ring, but she found that the ring actually flew up, automatically slipped onto her ring finger, and then shrank a circle to fit her finger. So amazing! Su Qianqian was surprised when she saw such a spiritual object for cultivation for the first time. This must be the recognition of its master. She tried to sense the storage ring, and the next second, a storage space with no visible boundaries appeared before her. Su Qianqian couldn't help but open her mouth in surprise. She knew that this ring had a large storage space, but she didn't know it was so big. At the same time, the information about this storage ring flooded into his mind. Seeing this data, Su Qianqian was shocked. With such a large storage space, even if she kept stuffing things into it until the moment she died, it probably wouldn't be full. Is this the storage ring that cultivators often use? It's so scary. Su Qianqian was shocked for a long time before she collected her thoughts and looked at the spiritual rice that the merchant from the cultivation plain had given her. With such a huge space, the Lingmi rice piled in the corner is like an ant and is almost invisible. Su Qianqian's mind moved, and her vision suddenly expanded, and the hill of spiritual rice suddenly appeared in front of her. Su Qianqian couldn't help but take a breath. She asked for some spiritual rice, thinking it would be just a few dozen kilograms at most. Unexpectedly, the big shot in the cultivation world gave her a mountain of spiritual rice. This must be several thousand kilograms. Su Qianqian was so surprised that she couldn't recover for a long time. The Lingmi rice in front of me is white and plump, with a faint glow on the surface and a unique fragrance of rice. Su Qianqian took a light sniff. The fragrance made her feel relaxed and happy, refreshing. It's worthy of being something from the world of cultivation. Presumably, the spiritual rice that the big man from the cultivation plain gave her was probably not an ordinary spiritual rice. This old monster that has lived for thousands of years would not look down on cheap goods. Even though she could not see it with her eyes, the spiritual rice in front of her should be of top quality. Su Qianqian suppressed her excitement and was about to look away when she suddenly discovered several bookcases not far from where the spiritual rice was placed. It was filled with books and some bottles and jars. She was stunned. Wasn't it said that there was nothing in this storage ring? She looked over subconsciously. Those books were all from the world of cultivation. There were cultivation secrets and records of spiritual beasts, spiritual herbs, and minerals in the world of cultivation. Su Qianqian's heart skipped a beat, and a huge surprise surged in her heart. These things were all treasures of the cultivation world. If she could just take a look at them. She subconsciously reached out her hand, and the moment it touched the bookcase and the books inside it all turned into ashes and dispersed. Su Qianqian. Sure enough, after tens of millions of years, these things have already weathered and turned into ashes at the slightest touch. She said that the old monster who had lived in the cultivation world for thousands of years would not let her off so easily. All the bottles and jars on the bookshelf fell to the ground, but they did not disappear. Su Qianqian guessed that these bottles and jars should be made of jade. After all, only jade can be preserved for thousands of years. She picked up a palm-sized jade bottle, unscrewed the cap, and saw that there was nothing inside, not even the panacea she was expecting. Jade can be preserved for thousands of years. The elixirs in the world of cultivation cannot be preserved and should have turned into ashes along with those books and bookshelves long ago. Su Qianqian sighed in her heart, feeling extremely sorry. However, if the things inside were intact, it would not be her turn to pick up the bargain. Su Qianqian picked up the bottles and jars on the ground and put them neatly aside. After all, it is a 1,000-year-old jade. If it were put into modern times, it could be made into valuable jade jewelry after being polished and carved by machines. She couldn't bear to throw it away. However, when sorting out these bottles and jars, Su Qianqian found a thumb-sized stone among the miscellaneous items. This thing was so small and inconspicuous that if she hadn't been careful, she would have almost overlooked it. She picked up the pebble and took a look. It was a dark piece, a bit like obsidian. But since it had been preserved for so long, it must be something like jade. But it felt like metal to the touch. Su Qianqian didn't pay much attention to it. This thing should be some kind of specialty mineral in the world of cultivation. Anyway, it shouldn't be something valuable, otherwise it wouldn't have been left in the storage ring and given to her. Su Qianqian packed up the pile of bottles and jars and planned to transfer the supplies in the storage bag into the storage ring. Because she found that this storage ring was much more convenient, than the storage bag. If she wanted to take something out of it, she only had to think about it, and the thing would automatically appear in her hand. But for things in the storage bag, she had to reach in to get them. Although this could conceal her identity, it was not very convenient at times. The most important point is that once you put this storage ring on your finger, you can't take it off. It is much safer than a storage bag, and you don't have to worry about it being taken away by others. So, Su Qianqian transferred all the valuable and seldom used items into the storage ring, and only left some commonly used items in the storage bag, which had to be hidden from others. After doing all this, Su Qianqian opened the plain trading system again, took off the shelves all the beast corpses that she had been reluctant to sell before, and stored them in the storage ring. Just then, the merchant from the interstellar plane sent her a message. She had previously asked the other party for the instructions for using the genetic modification fluid. The other party was probably busy and didn't reply until now. This is your first time using our interstellar genetic modification fluid.
I don't know what will happen.
But don't worry, the quality of our interstellar genetic modification fluid is absolutely guaranteed. It has been used in many biological experiments, so there will be no problems even if ordinary people use it. Su Qianqian replied, I am not doubting your quality issues. I just want to ask, what should I pay attention to when using the genetic modification fluid? The other party replied, you just need to make sure you have a safe place. To put it bluntly, this gene modification fluid is somewhat similar to the marrow cleansing fluid in the cultivation plane. It can not only change genes, but also has the effect of cleansing essence and weakening marrow. However, the effect is not as strong as the elixir in the cultivation world. But don't worry, when using our interstellar gene modification fluid, you will not feel any pain or discomfort like the marrow cleansing and bone strengthening pills in the cultivation world. Oh, by the way, if you are alone, I still suggest you buy a nutrition tank because the genetic modification fluid needs to absorb a lot of energy from your body all the time when modifying your body, and you may fall asleep for 2 or 3 days. In our interstellar plane, the injection of genetic modification fluid requires the care of a guardian and the feeding of nutrients. If you don't have anyone you can trust to feed you nutrients, you need to buy a nutrition tank and sleep in it. Someone you trust? She lacks most in this world is someone she can trust. Isn't this making things difficult for her? And she would have to sleep for 2 or 3 days. Before she found a place to stay, she didn't dare to sleep for a few days. Su Qianqian was in a dilemma. It seems that this genetic modification fluid cannot be used for a while. As for the nutrition tank, Su Qianqian clicked on the price and took a look. A nutrient warehouse cost more than 900,000 star coins. Forget it, let's talk about it later. Su Qianqian closed the plain trading system in disappointment. The genetic modification fluid cannot be used for the time being, so let's deal with the current problem first. After packing up her things, Su Qianqian left the cave and prepared to visit Jillian. In fact, she had been there once yesterday, but Jillian stayed indoors and refused to see anyone. Anyone would feel bad if they lost 2 beastly husbands at once. Su Qianqian could understand Jillian's feelings, so she didn't dare to disturb her these days, letting her stay quiet for a few days. But now, she was eager to leave the tribe, and she wanted to pay a good visit to Jillian before leaving. Originally, she didn't want to leave in such a hurry, but Lanty's departure always gave her a bad feeling. She was afraid that something unexpected might happen, so it would be better for her to leave as soon as possible. At this moment, there were several people standing in front of Jillian's cave. When I walked in, I found that it was the tribe leader, the priest, and Lang Yen. Several people were worried about Jillian and came to visit her every day, but Jillian refused to see anyone. Several people stood at the entrance of the cave, helpless. Seeing her coming, the tribe leader's eyes lit up. Little female, you are here. You have the best relationship with Jillian. Come and persuade her. Jillian has not come out for several days and is unwilling to see us. Su Qianqian sighed helplessly. To be honest, she couldn't guarantee whether she could enlighten Jillian. After all, Jillian didn't even want to see her. But she still walked up to Jillian and spoke softly. Jillian, I have something important to tell you. Can you let me in for a moment? I'm sorry, Qianqian, please go back. I don't want to see anyone. Jillian's choked voice came from inside. Su Qianqian spread her hands helplessly towards them, as if to say, "See. She doesn't even see me." Several people could only sigh helplessly and leave. Watching the figures walking away, Su Qianqian turned around again, facing the cave, with a serious look on her face, and said in a low voice, "Ah Jiao, I'm leaving, so this is the last time I come to see you." She finished her words. Jillian suddenly rushed out of the cave, and before she had time to wipe the tears from her eyes, she looked at her in disbelief. "What did you say? You want to leave?" At this point, her eyes turned red, and she rushed over to hug Su Qianqian, crying loudly. "Why? Why do you want to leave me too?" Hearing the other person's crying, Su Qianqian's heart softened inexplicably. She reached out and patted the other person's back soothingly. After a long time in Jillian's cave, the two sat face to face on the stone bed. Ah Jiao didn't have time to wipe the tears from her face. She kept grabbing Su Qianqian's hand and begging, "Qianqian, please don't leave, okay? I beg you." Su Qianqian shook her head and said slowly, "I'm sorry, Jillian. I have remembered my past memories, and I want to go back to find my former tribe, so I can't stay here any longer." This was the wording she had thought of long ago. She was afraid that if she disappeared, the tribe would send people out to look for her like they did last time. Instead of that, she might as well find a better excuse to completely put an end to their thoughts. But... Jillian's eyes were filled with tears. She seemed to want to say something to stop him, but she couldn't find an excuse for a long time, because she also understood how important a tribe that raised her from childhood was to the orcs. Even if the Grey Wolf tribe tried to keep her, it could not stop this from happening. Jillian could only wipe away her tears and sobbed, "If you miss home, then go back and see them. But if they still treat you badly, Qianqian, you should come back to our Grey Wolf tribe." Su Qianqian smiled and said nothing. She accepted Jillian's concern, but she was unsure whether she would return to the Grey Wolf tribe or not. She is a human being after all, and may never be able to adapt to the group life in the orc tribe. "Then when are you leaving?" Jillian asked with sobs. "Maybe I'll have to wait a few days before leaving," Su Qianqian said, "but I've only told you this. I hope you can keep it a secret. Okay, I won't tell anyone." Jillian nodded vigorously. Su Qianqian looked at Jillian's red eyes from crying and couldn't help feeling sad in her heart. Jillian is the person who trusts her the most in the entire tribe, and the person she is most reluctant to leave is also Jillian. However, before leaving, she will do one last thing for Jillian. Thinking of this, she held Jillian's wrist, and a trace of wood-type power entered Jillian's body at an imperceptible speed. She had previously asked the priest about Jillian. The priest said that Ah Jiao had a child before, but the child was killed by stray orcs. She was injured in grief, and has been unable to have children since then. The ability to bear offspring is extremely important for a female. Jillian lost her ability to bear children, which is why she was despised and betrayed by her beastly husband. To restore Jillian's ability to have children before leaving, Su Qianqian took her hand back and said softly, "Ah Jiao, I just checked your body. There's nothing wrong with you. I'll go back and prepare some herbs for you. After you take them, you'll be able to give birth to cubs again." "Qianqian, what did you say?" Ah Jiao seemed shocked by her words and looked at her in disbelief. "You can restore my ability to give birth to cubs?"
Su Qianqian nodded seriously.
She understood the sadness and grief that Jillian had been holding in her heart, and her inferiority complex due to her inability to give birth to a beastly cub. So, even though she was betrayed by her beastly husband, she could only remain silent and endure it all, because she no longer has the fertility that the females in the beast world are proud of. The reason why females in the beast world are precious and rare is because of the fertility bestowed by the beast god. Without the ability to reproduce, would Jillian, as a female, still be cherished by the tribe? Erju and Erlu are gone, and Jillian will have a new beastly husband in the future. But if we want to change Jillian's suffering, we can only start from the source and restore her ability to bear children. "Qianqian, thank you." Ah Jiao's eyes turned red, and she threw herself on Su Qianqian and burst into tears again. "Whoa. I thought that this was the end of my life, and I would never have a beast cub. If I could really have another beast cub, I would be willing to die. After comforting Jillian, Su Qianqian left. But as soon as she came out of Jillian's cave, she met Lang Yan's cold gaze. You want to leave the tribe? Su Qianqian frowned almost imperceptibly. Were you eavesdropping on our conversation? Lang Yan did not answer her question. His gray-blue eyes were still staring at her. His gaze was heavy and oppressive.
Why?
Why did you leave the tribe? Is it because I let Londi go? Su Qianqian couldn't help but laugh. There was a hint of coldness in the laughter. If this reason is acceptable to you, you can think of it this way. After saying that, Su Qianqian took a big step forward and walked straight past Lang Yan and left. However, the next second, her wrist was grabbed by the man. You just never liked me at all?
Su Qianqian paused suddenly.
She tilted her head slightly and saw the man with his head down, his face hidden in the shadows, dim and unclear. He pursed his lips, and the knuckles that were holding his wrist tightened little by little, with a faint red on the joints. His voice was also deep, with a hint of humble pleading in the repression. Can't you stay in the Grey Wolf tribe for me? Su Qianqian looked at him, tilted her head slightly, and asked the question she wanted to ask the most. Lang Yan, will you leave the Grey Wolf tribe for me? The man's face paused, obviously not expecting her to ask such a question. He opened his mouth subconsciously, but nothing came out. See, you don't want to either. Su Qianqian smiled gently, with some relief in her smile. Because of the other party's words just now, slowly calmed down. You are not willing to leave the Grey Wolf tribe for me, so why should I stay in the Grey Wolf tribe for you? See, liking someone is the most useless thing. Looking at the girls departing back, the light in Lang Yan's eyes gradually dimmed. In my chest felt like it was being yanked hard and was in excruciating pain. At this time, Heimu came over silently from the side, holding food in his arms that he was going to give to Ah Jiao. He said, Actually, I'm also curious. Why did you let Londi go? Lang Yan, you're not the kind of guy who would be soft-hearted towards females. Really? Lang Yan stood there and sneered slightly. Maybe I wanted it too much, so I lost it. My thoughts gradually drifted away, recalling what happened that day. He locked the witch doctor in the confinement cave. He met Londi, who was following him as soon as he came out. At that time, Londi had already anticipated that the truth would be revealed, and in panic he begged him to save him. Lang Yan, you are the only orc in the tribe with 4 beast patterns. I beg you, as long as you help me plead and become my beast husband, the tribe leader, and others will let me go this time. Lang Yan was naturally unwilling to do so, and even wanted to capture Londi and bring him back for punishment. He said coldly, You should pay for what you have done. Don't bother. It's useless to beg me. Londi was completely defeated at that time and asked him at the top of his voice, Why? Do you really like that ugly Su Qianqian so much? For her, you even ignored the kindness of our fellow tribesmen? I do like her. Lang Yan said coldly, but this has nothing to do with you. If you make a mistake, you must go back and accept the punishment. After hearing this, but in the blink of an eye, she seemed to have thought of something and threatened fiercely. Lang Yan, if you dare to take me back, I will tell everyone that Su Qianqian is a holy female. Lang Yan was caught off guard, his pupils suddenly dilated. How do you know? Londi laughed triumphantly. Humph, you don't need to worry about how I know this, but you should know what the holy female means to the orc tribe. If I spread this news, all the males in the Grey Wolf tribe, no, the entire beast world continent will come to fight for her, and you will never get her again. Lang Yan looked at the person in front of him, his gray-blue eyes dark. A flash of murderous intent passed through his eyes. You'd better know what you're talking about. Humph. Londi snorted coldly, and the panic on her face disappeared completely. She said smugly, Lang Yan, you like that girl so much. You probably don't want her to get into big trouble. As long as you let me go today, I promise I won't tell anyone about this. As his thoughts gradually returned, Lang Yan stared at his fingers in a daze and murmured, Some things are like sand clenched in your hand. The more you want them, the faster they slip away. He originally thought that if he let Londi go and hid the secret, She would belong to him forever, but he didn't know that he pushed her further away. Lang Yen, what are you talking about?
I don't understand.
Mu looked at him in confusion. Lang Yen gradually came back to his senses. He glanced at Mu beside him and finally couldn't help but sighed. It's okay. I just feel a little sad. She saved the tribe members and became more and more dazzling. Maybe she will never belong to me alone. Hey, you. Mu probably understood what Lang Yen meant, patted his shoulder helplessly, and comforted him. Don't think too much. You are the only orc in our tribe with 4 beast patterns. At least have some confidence in yourself. The little female is very good, but you are not bad either. Didn't you say before that you would ask the little female for a partner at the sacrificial meeting? Why are you backing off now? In response to Mu's comfort, Lang Yen just smiled bitterly and said nothing. He was indeed full of confidence before, but now he just hoped that Su Qianqian would not hate him so much. At this moment, Su Qianqian, who returned to the cave alone, felt a little depressed. Even though she acted calm in front of Lang Yen, she couldn't hide the disappointment in her heart. She was really disappointed with Lang Yen. Spending those days together, it was impossible for her not to be attracted to Lang Yen. But that was just a feeling of being moved, not to the point of staying in the tribe for him. Thinking of this, Su Qianqian took a deep breath. Forget it. He is an orc and she is a human. How could they be together? I asked was unnecessary. Lang Yen was the only orc with 4 beast patterns in the Grey Wolf tribe. He was the tribe's supreme honor. How could he leave the tribe for me? They are from 2 different worlds and can never be together. Su Qianqian shook her head twice to get rid of all those unrealistic thoughts. She opened the plain trading system and began to search for medicine that could cure Jillian's infertility. At the same time, in a corner of the forest behind the mountain, Lan Di angrily threw away the meat jerky handed to him by the 2 beast men. You 2 useless guys, can't you bring me some fresh meat? I've had enough of this dry meat jerky. The 2 beast men hesitated to speak. We have tried our best. If we bring out fresh meat, the tribesmen will be suspicious. I don't care. I want to eat fresh meat. Lan Di said relentlessly. Are you afraid that the tribe members will get suspicious? Can't you go to the mountains and get me some fresh prey? You 2 are useless guys. The 2 beastly husbands were scolded so badly that they couldn't even raise their heads. In the end, they were ordered by Lan Di to go to the mountains to hunt for her. As the 2 of them left, Lan Di's angry expression suddenly disappeared. She turned around and looked behind her and said coldly, Does what you said work? Will Lang Yen really not let the tribe members come to arrest me? A tall tree. You have already tried it, haven't you? After you said all that, Lang Yen did let you go. Lan Di looked at the orc who appeared in front of him and felt familiar with him. He was a beastly husband of Iloa, a most inconspicuous beastly husband, and she couldn't even call out his name. He was very thin, with an unhealthy pale skin, completely different from the burly and strong males in the tribe. He was only wrapped in a dirty animal skin, and his long hair covered his cold eyes. That day, after the witch doctor was taken away by Lang Yen, she was afraid that the witch doctor would reveal the matter of the animal-luring grass, so she followed him secretly, but was stopped halfway. Her a long time to recognize that this guy was Iloa's beastly husband. The other party told her that her affairs had been exposed. Lang Yen had taken the witch doctor away, and she would be the next one to be taken away. She was already panicking at that time, but the other party told her a secret, saying that she could use this secret to threaten Lang Yen to let her go. Humph, that ugly bastard is actually the legendary holy female. Damn it. Lan Di cursed viciously, still a little unconvinced. Could you be mistaken? That ugly bastard knows more than us. How can she be like a holy female? The other party simply replied, The divination of the high priest of Wanshou City has never been wrong. He had put in a lot of effort to find this holy female, and he would definitely not make a mistake. Lan Di frowned and looked at him. After thinking for a long time, he seemed to finally remember his name. Your name seems to be Bai Qi,
Right?
aren't you Iloa's beast husband? Why do you have communication with the high priest of Wanshou City? It's none of your business. The other person glanced at her coldly. If you want to live, just do what I tell you to do. Upon hearing this, Londi curled his lips in anger. Although she was very dissatisfied that a mere male dared to boss her around, things were different now. She had no other way out. If this guy hadn't been willing to help her, she really would have nowhere else to go. So, what do you want me to do? I want you to return to the Grey Wolf tribe. Are you crazy? Londi screamed. If I go back, they will definitely lock me up and not give me any food. They will starve me to death, and then throw me to the back hills for wild animals to eat my body.
Don't worry about that.
I have my own way to help you sneak into the Grey Wolf tribe. Bai Qi said coldly, and then took out a packet of medicine. You just need to help me put this packet of medicine into the water of the tribe leader and the priest. What is this? Londi took the medicine bag and subconsciously sniffed it, but she smelled a pungent smell. She instantly had a bad feeling. Is this poison? You want me to frame the tribe leader and others? Bai Qi just laughed softly. They're going to kill you for foreign female. Are you still going to be merciful to them? But this. Londi clenched the medicine bag and was unable to speak. Don't worry, I won't force you. Bai Qi glanced at her coldly. I will still help you return to the tribe as agreed. If they are willing to forgive you and accept you again, it doesn't matter if this bag of medicine is thrown away. You can do whatever you want with it. If they still insist on punishing you, it's not too late for you to reconsider. Londi frowned and stared at the medicine bag in his hand without saying a word. It was obvious that he had been persuaded. She hesitated and finally turned her back. Let me think about it first. Looking at Londi's back as she walked away, Bai Qi's cold face showed a hint of sarcasm. Stupid female. However, it will be soon. If the witch doctor falls, as long as the tribe leader and the priest fall, and they can find a way to get rid of the orc with 4 animal patterns, the entire Grey Wolf tribe will become vulnerable. That day, just as Su Qianqian was about to go out to the river to fetch some water for cooking, it started to drizzle. At the beginning, the rain was light, and she thought she could go out after waiting for a while. But in the end, the rain got heavier and heavier, with no sign of stopping. Su Qianqian couldn't help but frown. The rain kept falling, which was not good for her future plans. Rain would make the mountain roads slippery and difficult to walk on, and the rain would wash away the camouflage on her face, making it very unfriendly for her travel. Su Qianqian stayed in the cave for a day. The rain outside had turned into a heavy downpour, and rumbling thunder could be heard faintly in the sky. The rain was so heavy that the river outside must have become muddy and unusable for cooking. In desperation, Su Qianqian could only open the plain trading system and buy a few barrels of mineral water. It's a good opportunity to take advantage of the rain during this period to stay in the cave and prepare enough food for the next trip. Moreover, the heavy rain would cover up the smell, and no matter what kind of food she prepared, it would not be discovered by the orcs in the tribe. So she took out all the beasts she had picked up in the misty forest, and then skinned and cut them with a dagger. Peeled animal skins are put up for sale in the plain trading system. As for the remaining animal meat, it is not worth much, so it is all kept for the people to eat. The storage grid that comes with the system has a built-in fresh-keeping function. No matter what kind of food is put in it, it will not go bad. In the past few days, she has cleaned out all the grids and used them specifically to store food and other things. Su Qianqian first took out the pots and pans, cleaned them, then grabbed a few handfuls of spiritual rice and put it in the pot and started to light the fire to cook. She had never eaten this thing and didn't know what it tasted like when cooked, so she just grabbed a few handfuls to try. While waiting for the spiritual rice to cook, she continued to deal with the corpses of the beasts. But it must be said that the corpses of these wild beasts are really difficult to deal with. The hides are very thick, the meat is firm, and the bones are extremely hard and difficult to break. If she didn't have the dagger that could cut through iron like mud as a reward from the system, she probably wouldn't be able to deal with so many wild beast corpses by herself. It took Su Qianqian almost a whole day to deal with the corpses of the 7 beasts. She was so tired that she was sweating profusely. The fire in the stove next to her gradually weakened. Su Qianqian walked over and thought that after so much time had passed, the spiritual rice in the pot should be cooked. However, when she opened the lid of the pot, she found that the water inside had boiled dry, while the magical rice was still half dry and uncooked. What's going on? She added exactly the amount of water needed for normal cooking, so how could it not be enough? Su Qianqian frowned and picked up a grain of rice with chopsticks, put it into her mouth, and chewed it gently.
It was so hard.
Totally uncooked. Su Qianqian could only refill the pot with water, cover it with a lid, and continue cooking on high heat. She just couldn't believe that even with so much water it still wouldn't be cooked. Su Qianqian sat aside and continued to deal with the beast's corpse. I don't know how long it took. Su Qianqian was sweating profusely again. She took out her cell phone and looked at it. 2 hours had passed. It should be cooked by now. Since her phone was returned, she bought a solar power bank from the plane trading system and recharged her phone. The phone can be turned on. Although there is still no signal and I cannot access the internet, some normal functions can still be used. Su Qianqian got up and went to the stove again. She opened the lid of the pot and saw that the water had boiled dry. But the rice grains inside are still not cooked. Su Qianqian sighed helplessly, added more water, covered the pot, increased the heat, and continued cooking. This spiritual rice from the world of cultivation is indeed extraordinary. It is so difficult to cook it with water and fire from the mortal world. Su Qianqian could only continue to wait. However, the rice was cooked until dark, and when she opened the lid of the pot hungry, the half-cooked rice in front of her did not stir up any ripples in Su Qianqian's heart. She added water as usual, added firewood, and continued cooking. After a tiring day, Su Qianqian ate a few pieces of bread and climbed onto the stone bed and fell into a deep sleep. Before going to bed, she set an alarm for herself on her mobile phone and got up 2 hours later to add water to the pot. Throughout the whole night, Su Qianqian got up 5 times, either to add water to the pot or to add firewood to the stove. It was just getting light. Su Qianqian got up with dark circles under her eyes, lifted the straw curtain, and took a look outside the cave. The heavy rain was still falling, and there were few orcs in the entire Grey Wolf tribe. I guess everyone is staying in the cave to rest at this time. Only a few orcs are watching over the red fruit fields in the distance in the heavy rain. Su Qianqian put down the straw curtain and returned to the cave. She came to the stove and subconsciously threw a few pieces of firewood into the stove. She was about to add some more water to the pot, but the moment she opened the lid, she smelled an extremely special and rich fragrance. The fragrance seemed to go straight to the top of her head, suddenly waking her drowsy brain. Su Qianqian looked down and saw that the rice in the pot was plump, oily in color, crystal clear, and exuding an extremely tempting aroma. After cooking for a day and a night, it's finally cooked. Su Qianqian couldn't help swallowing. She quickly took a spoon and scooped a spoonful and put it into her mouth. It had a soft and sweet texture, a pure fragrance, and the rice grains had a high gelatinous consistency. This lingmi rice is even more delicious than I imagined. One bite after another. Even without any delicious dishes to go with it, the white rice was so delicious that one couldn't stop eating it. However, since it was her first attempt, she didn't cook much rice, so she ate it all in no time. Based on her usual appetite, this amount of spiritual rice would not be enough for her. But after eating these spiritual rice, Su Qianqian felt very full. It was a kind of pleasure and satisfaction both physically and mentally. She didn't want to eat anything else at all. Su Qianqian walked back and forth in the cave for a few steps. She felt her lower abdomen was hot and uncomfortable. In addition, the energy surging in her body was also restless, like a flood filling up a riverbank, or like a volcano about to erupt, trying to find a way out to burst out. So she took out the thorn seeds she had seen in the misty forest before, held them in her hand, and began to ripen them. Emerald green light was brighter than ever before. Almost in an instant, the thorn seeds in her hand sprouted and grew, and turned into a whip covered with thorns in her hand. Su Qianqian swung it twice, and the flying whip glowed faintly with a green light, echoing in the cave. After consuming a lot of her supernatural powers, Su Qianqian finally felt that the energy in her body that had nowhere to be released had dissipated, and she no longer felt as uncomfortable as before. She sat down, took a deep breath, and drank a few sips of water. As the strength in her body slowly subsided, her emotions gradually calmed down. The spiritual rice here is worthy of being a spiritual object in the world of cultivation. It is so amazing. She never expected that just a few bites of this magical rice would have such a great impact on her body. Fortunately, I only ate spiritual rice. If it was spiritual fruit, Su Qianqian couldn't believe that she would still be alive after eating it. However, after this incident, she felt that the supernatural powers in her body had greatly increased, as if she was only one step away from breaking through to the second level. Su Qianqian thought about it, then took out the previous instrument and began to re-examine her body. The test data was quickly displayed on the screen. As Su Qianqian looked at it, she was surprised to find that the column of her physical fitness had changed. She clearly remembered that her physical fitness was only 7 points at the beginning, and she was judged by the system as not even as good as a baby in the world of cultivation. But now, her physical fitness increased by 13 points. Although she didn't know what this physical energy was used for, Su Qianqian was still very happy. Even the heavy rain outside did not dampen her good mood. Su Qianqian happily changed to a big pot, poured a few pounds of spiritual rice into it, then filled it with water, and placed the pot on the stove to boil. She would cook more of this excellent rice at one time and store some so that she can eat it whenever she wants. Su Qianqian sat beside them as usual, dealing with the beast's corpse and occasionally throwing a few pieces of firewood into the stove. Until dark, Su Qianqian had no idea how many corpses of wild animals she had dealt with, but she was not tired at all. Moreover, she did not feel hungry or even sleepy after not eating anything for the whole day. She was extremely energetic and full of endless energy. The effect of this spiritual rice is so long-lasting that she feels as if she has taken stimulants and is full of energy. Su Qianqian did not rest either. She turned on the flashlight on her mobile phone and continued to deal with the beast corpse at hand in the light. Another day and night passed like this. On the third day, the heavy rain outside was still falling as usual, and there was still no sign of stopping. Su Qianqian looked back at the animal skins all over the cave and finally frowned with some worry. She had almost dealt with the corpses of the wild animals in the past few days, and now there was nothing left to do. She subconsciously touched the storage bag at her waist, which contained the fertility pill she had prepared for Jillian. This is a pill that can make people pregnant after taking it. It comes from the interstellar plane. She originally thought that this thing would be very expensive, however, it was unexpectedly cheap. 50,000 star coins each. Later she asked the interstellar businessman, and he said that in their interstellar plane, the environment was seriously polluted, and it was difficult for women to get pregnant, so scientists developed this pill that can help women conceive. However, because the production volume is large but the number of people using it is small, the price of this pill is very cheap in their dimension. Su Qianqian stroked the pill and looked at the heavy rain outside. When will the rain stop? She still needs to deliver pills to Jillian. She originally planned to send it to Jillian before leaving, but it has been raining these days. She had heard from the priest before that there would be heavy rain for a period of time before the hot season comes, and once the heavy rain ends, the hot season will come. For the orcs in the beast world, the hot season is a very terrifying season. Legend has it that the sun god makes the sun in the hot season extremely hot in order to punish the wicked. This heat will dry up every source of water on the continent, causing plants on the continent to dry up and die, and animals to die of thirst. This heavy rain may be a sign of the coming hot season. Su Qianqian was staring at the heavy rain outside, and suddenly, she saw Mu running towards her cave in a panic. "Little female, it's bad. Our tribe's red fruit fields have been flooded. What should we do?" "What?" Su Qianqian was shocked. The field where the red fruits were planted was relatively high, so how could it be flooded? She hurried to the field where the red fruits were planted to take a look, but the rain was so heavy that it blocked her view, and she could not see what was happening outside at all. "The chief is gathering all the tribesmen to rescue Tian, and the priest asked me to come to you to think of a solution." Mu stood outside with an anxious look on his face, his whole body soaked by the rain. "I'll go and have a look." Red fruit is a drought-resistant plant and will not survive if it is flooded by rain. Su Qianqian couldn't just stand by and watch, so she tore off a piece of animal skin and put it on her head, then followed He Mu towards the red fruit field. The two of them jogged along and saw from afar the chief, leading the orcs of the tribe. They were scooping water from the fields with stone bowls in the heavy rain. Even the females, who had always lived a life of luxury, were helping. But this approach was completely ineffective. The rain was so heavy that it almost submerged the ridges of the fields. Even if they had twice as many people, it would be of no use. Su Qianqian quickly looked around, then fixed her eyes on a few large trees not far away. She immediately shouted loudly, "Come on, help me." The tribe leader saw this and quickly shouted, "Everyone, listen to the little female's orders." He Mu was the first to respond. "Little female, tell us what you need us to do." Su Qianqian pointed at the big trees not far away and said, "Cut down a few big wooden stakes, the more the better, to surround the farmland, and then use animal skins to build a shed on the farmland to shelter from the rain." Following Su Qianqian's instructions, everyone followed suit, and the females also spontaneously went home to get the animal skins. As the big trees fell to the ground, there were several loud thunders in the sky. Heavy rain washed the ground and mud splashed everywhere. Su Qianqian was directing from the side. The branches and leaves of the chopped-down trees had to be removed, and then they were moved to the edge of the red fruit field and laid down one by one on the ridges to block the rainwater from pouring in from outside. If ordinary people were to do these tasks, they probably wouldn't be able to finish them in a short time. But the orcs in front of him turned their hands over and turned them into wolf claws. With a scratch of the sharp claws, branches and leaves on a big tree fell to the ground. Among them, Lang Yen was the most powerful. With a slap of his thick and sharp wolf claws, the rows of trees in front of him fell to the ground one after another. The orcs nearby rushed forward, moved the fallen trees aside, and began to remove the leaves and branches. After a short while, sturdy tree stumps were built around the red fruit field, and all the rain splashing outside was blocked out. At the same time, branches were propped up in the fields, with large animal skins supported on top, which barely blocked most of the rain. But these practices cannot last long. If the heavy rain does not stop and the water level gets higher and higher, this field of red fruits will still be in trouble. The priest clasped his hands together, knelt devoutly on the ridge of the field, and muttered something. Su Qianqian stood on a ridge on a higher ground, looking at the entire field of red fruits in front of her, thinking of countermeasures in her mind. Raindrops kept ringing in her ears. She was soaked all over. The animal skin on her head was also wet, dripping water onto her forehead and face. Applied on the face was washed away bit by bit. Su Qianqian was completely unaware. She was staring at the red fruits in the field in a daze. Suddenly, she heard a series of gasps. She was stunned for a moment and subconsciously raised her head, but was blocked by a tall figure.
Lang Yan?
Su Qianqian had just opened her mouth when a larger animal skin covered her head, completely covering her. "What's wrong?" Su Qianqian pulled away the animal skin that blocked her vision and slightly raised her little face soaked by rain to look at the man in front of her. But he saw Lang Yan standing in front of him, motionless like a stone statue. His brows were furrowed, and his calm and stern face was unusually cold in the rain. "What's the matter?" She turned her head slightly and met He Mu's gaze. You are a little female?" he murmured, staring at her blankly, his voice full of disbelief. The orcs around her all looked at her in amazement, their eyes filled with surprise. Su Qianqian gradually came to her senses and subconsciously reached out to touch her face. She was startled by the soft and smooth skin. The black mud on her face was gone. The orcs present, including the tribe leader and the priest, seemed not to feel the rain splashing on their bodies. They all looked at Su Qianqian's palm-sized face in shock. Her delicate eyebrows are like willow branches, her eyes are like lake water, her nose is small, her lips are red without any makeup, her skin is as white and tender as snow, and she is absolutely charming and attractive when she looks around. Even through the rain, Her bright features are still so beautiful that they can captivate the heart. Everyone stared blankly, as if they had forgotten the passage of time, the pouring rain, and the red fruit fields beneath their feet. Until Kuroki's voice broke the silence. "Little female, it turns out you are so beautiful." His voice was full of surprise. Everyone was awakened from their dream and began to praise. "Yes, little female, it turns out that you are not only not ugly, but also so beautiful."
Then,
"Why do you want to hide your beauty?" At this time, the clan leader stood up and looked at Su Qianqian with a look of surprise, but also a hint of suspicion. Su Qianqian lowered her head silently, pursed her lips, and said nothing. As the heavy rain fell, the little face was not wet by the rain, but the skin looked even cleaner and clearer. The scene fell silent again, as if everyone was waiting for Su Qianqian to answer the patriarch's questions. Lang Yin looked at the silent girl with her head down in front of him, sighed almost imperceptibly, then bent down and picked her up by the waist, and said to everyone behind his back, "Chief, she is not feeling well. I will take her back first." After saying this, without waiting for anyone to speak, he took a big step and quickly left everyone's sight. Su Qianqian was carried all the way back to the cave. Lang Yin stood at the entrance of the cave and was about to stop, but Su Qianqian grabbed his collar and said in a muffled voice,
"Carry me in."
Lang Yin paused slightly, but then walked into this world he had never set foot in without changing his expression. Lifting the straw curtain, the not-so-large cave was found to be warmly and comfortably decorated. The floor was swept clean, items were neatly organized, the animal skins on the stone bed were neatly folded, and there was a vase at the head of the bed with a few bunches of wild flowers in it, with a faint floral fragrance in the air. The small cave revealed the gentle and delicate thoughts of its owner everywhere. Lang Yin carried Su Qianqian to the stone bed. He placed the girl gently on the bed, his movements so gentle as if he was handling a fragile treasure in the world. He did not leave without saying a word as he did in the past. Instead, he half knelt in front of the stone bed, stared at the girl in front of him, and said softly, "Don't worry, few people know about that prophecy. Therefore, even if her true appearance was exposed, no one would doubt that she was a holy female. But the premise is that you must not reveal your supernatural powers in front of them." The prophecy. But if the consequences of all this are to be borne by the little female, then he must stop it. "Qianqian, I know you have been living cautiously, hiding many secrets, and feeling depressed and uncomfortable every day. I don't want you to continue living like this." Lang Yin looked at the girl sitting on the stone bed in front of him with her eyes downcast and silent. He sighed deeply, as if he had made a great decision. He said word by word, "If leaving the tribe can make you happy and allow you to live freely, I can help you go wherever you want." Who was sitting on the stone bed, finally showed some emotion on her face. She slowly raised her head, met the man's gaze, and said, "What if? I want to go to the city of beasts? Okay, I'll take you away after the tribe's sacrificial ceremony is over." Lang Yin smiled, with a hint of relief in his voice, "But don't worry, I won't stay by your side. After you settle down, I will leave and won't disturb your life again." In the beginning, it was he who brought her to the Grey Wolf tribe. Now that things have come to this, let him send her away personally. At the same time, the other side, from the red fruit field, the thin and pale man stood under the tree, looking greedily at the direction where Su Qianqian left, and murmured, "It is indeed her, exactly as the high priest predicted. She is indeed a holy female." Barely suppressed excitement in his voice. The heavy rain before the hot season finally stopped after more than 10 days. On the first day after the rain stopped, Su Qianqian lifted the straw curtain and prepared to go out of the cave to get some fresh air. This was the first time she had been out of the cave in a few days. She raised her head and looked at the sky in the distance. The sky after the rain is as blue as a mirror, as clear as a glazed tile, clear and transparent, and as blue as lake water. Su Qianqian took a deep breath unconsciously, and the fresh air was slightly filled with the unique scent of earth. In fact, it is very comfortable to be alone like this. Su Qianqian couldn't help but wanted to stretch, but She heard a rustling sound coming from not far away. She subconsciously turned her head and saw some puddles on the muddy ground left by the heavy rain. Under a big tree not far away, several orcs were hiding in the bushes and watching her stealthily. Look, she's coming out. Oh my God, she's so beautiful. I've never seen such a beautiful female. Is she really the ugly one from before? I used to think that only strong females were good-looking, but I never thought that one day I would find thin and small females good-looking. She is even prettier than the saint of the Fox clan. Will she attend the sacrificial ceremony? I want to ask her for a partner and become her beastly husband. Listening to the voice coming from afar, Su Qianqian seemed to have expected it. There was no expression on her face. She even gave the opposite side a friendly smile. Hearing the thunder-like exclamation from the opposite side, Su Qianqian turned around and went back to the cave. The moment she returned to the cave, the smile in her eyes gradually faded. We're leaving anyway, so what if I reveal my true face? The day after tomorrow is the sacrificial ceremony. Once the sacrificial ceremony is over, everything will be over.
Beasts.
This place was the result of her long thinking. She doesn't like tribal life, but that doesn't mean she wants to live a solitary life away from humans forever. 10,000 Beasts is a city composed of multiple tribes, with a more prosperous and lively life. It has a plain trading system, the sea crystal sand that orcs flock to, and more advanced knowledge and technology. There, more and rarer specialties of the beast world continent can be found. She believed that in this vast and rich beast world, there must be not only treasures like the 1,000-year-old Ganoderma lucidum king, but also many rare things waiting for her to explore. When she has collected enough star coins, she will buy a spiritual field space that she can enter with her, settle down there, farm, and live the life she wants. Su Qianqian had been in the cave for a long time, but the orcs had not yet calmed down from their excitement. Oh my God, look, she smiled at me. Does that mean she likes me too? You think too much. She was smiling at me. It's me. I've decided. I'm going to the back mountain to hunt now. I'm going to ask a young female for a mate at the sacrificial ceremony the day after tomorrow. A group of orcs chattered and quarreled, and then swarmed towards the back mountain. Heimu looked at this scene and helplessly patted Lang Yan beside him. They are all so obsessed with the little female. Don't you want to say something? Lang Yan. The man beside him didn't say a word for a long time. Heimu gave him a strange look. What happened to you these days? In the past, you would put on a sour face when others looked at me for a little while longer. What happened recently? Don't you like me anymore? You obviously prepared a lot for this sacrificial ceremony. At this point, his expression paused, and he asked in confusion, Have you been rejected?
Does the little female not like you?
He immediately showed an excited look. If you give up, I will ask for a mate from a young female at the sacrificial ceremony. Without you as a competitor, my chances of winning are the greatest. Hearing this, Lang Yan rolled his eyes at him and still said nothing. Instead, he looked at Su Qianqian's cave, lost in thought. In fact, seeing Su Qianqian's true face exposed in front of everyone, he couldn't tell what he felt in his heart. Maybe there is bitterness and jealousy. But more of it was relief that she didn't belong to anyone. If he could, and could silently guard her side, he would be very content. The sacrificial ceremony followed. That day, after the patriarch and the priest finished chatting about matters necessary for the sacrificial ceremony, they just returned to the cave and were met with a pair of hostile eyes. Lanty? Seeing this familiar face, the tribe leader was caught off guard and asked in astonishment, Why are you here? Haven't you left the tribe? Lanty clenched the medicine bag in his hand, took a deep breath and said, Chief, I have something important to tell you. What did you say? The clan leader's face turned cold, and he obviously didn't want to hear more of what she had to say. You've made such a big mistake, and you still have the nerve to appear in front of me?
Chief.
Lanty gritted his teeth and insisted, ignoring the fact that the chief was trying to drive him away, You can't let Su Qianqian stay in the Grey Wolf tribe anymore. She is an ominous creature. What on earth are you talking about? The patriarch was stunned. What ominous thing? Seeing that the clan leader still didn't understand what he meant, Londi simply stopped hiding it and said word by word. Su Qianqian, she is not an ordinary female. She is the legendary holy female. What? The clan leader was stunned upon hearing the voice. Chief, have you never doubted her? Londi said with a sullen face. She is a female who came from nowhere and joined our Grey Wolf tribe, but she never accepted other males in the tribe and refused to give birth to offspring for the tribe. Moreover, she lied to us that she had lost her memory. If she really had lost her memory, how could she know so much? No, it's impossible. The clan leader hurriedly shook his head, still not believing Lanti's words, and muttered to himself. How is it possible? How can a little female be a holy female? Chief, have you forgotten the prophecy of the last high priest before he left? Seeing that the chief did not believe her, Londi could not help but scream. The holy female is an ominous creature. She will bring disaster to our Grey Wolf tribe. You can't let her stay in the Grey Wolf tribe anymore. You must drive her away. Hearing this, the patriarch finally came to his senses. How do you know what the previous high priest predicted?
Who told you?
Londi's face suddenly flashed with guilt. Don't worry about how I know this. Just listen to me and drive Su Qianqian away. The patriarch looked at Londi's guilty expression, and a hint of doubt flashed in his turbid old eyes. But he didn't say anything. Instead, he frowned and said slowly, Don't spread this matter around. Wait until I find out the truth. Hearing this, Londi could no longer hold back and shouted angrily. Chief, don't you believe me? That girl is really a holy female. She will bring disaster to our tribe. The patriarch ignored Londi and turned to leave the cave. As soon as he came out of the cave, he met orcs coming towards him. Chief, what happened? Why did I hear a quarrel in your cave?
Nothing.
The clan leader cleared his throat and changed the subject. What do you want to talk to me about? Oh, the priest asked us to come to you, saying that there is something important to discuss. Priest? The patriarch was stunned when he heard the voice, then his face darkened, and he strode towards a cave where the priest was. But after taking 2 steps, he suddenly stopped again and instructed the people behind him. By the way, no outsiders are allowed to enter my cave without my order.
Yes.
Several orcs didn't understand why the chief suddenly gave such an order, but they still obeyed it obediently. But they didn't know that after the patriarch left, the furious Londi overturned the stove in the patriarch's cave. The broth was boiling in the bone cap as big as a large bowl, emitting bursts of fragrant aroma. Who had been eating dried meat for a few days, swallowed her saliva subconsciously. She took out the medicine bag hidden in her arms, opened it, and found that it contained aconite powder. How could Bai Chi have such a thing? Londi was shocked. Just confirmed a few days ago that aconitum is highly poisonous and can kill people if eaten. The tribe leader issued an express ban on the use of aconitum in the tribe and also confiscated the aconitum from the witch doctor. So how did that guy get so much aconitum? If you put so much aconite powder in food at once, you will die if you eat it. Londi looked at the direction the chief had left and remembered that he had not revealed his presence in the tribe to outsiders before he left. So he finally softened his heart. After hesitating for a while, she put away the packet of aconite powder and drank up the broth in the skull. At the same time, the patriarch also arrived at the priest's cave. At this moment, Lang Yan was also inside. What happened? Why is your forehead covered in sweat? When the priest saw the patriarch, he took a quick look and discovered some clues from his face. Nothing. The patriarch glanced at Lang Yan subconsciously, and seeing that he was there, he suppressed the words in his heart. Lang Yan and Su Qianqian were close, so he couldn't tell the priest about the little female in front of Lang Yan, so he asked, What do you want? I've been feeling a little uneasy lately, and after some divination, I discovered that this year's hot season might come early and last a long time. The priest pondered and then said, I'm afraid our tribe doesn't have enough sea crystal sand. I need to find the orcs on the beach to exchange some for it. In the hot season, the beast men regulate their body temperature by sweating, and their body fluids contain a lot of salt. Once salt is lacking, it will cause a disorder of the electrolyte balance in the body and affect the normal physiological functions of the human body. Therefore, during the hot season, the amount of sea crystal sand consumed by orcs increases greatly. The tribe leader frowned upon hearing this. I have already considered what you said, but there are not many animal skins left in the tribe. Previously, the witch doctor took most of the tribe's savings to exchange for sea crystal sand in the City of Beasts, but the amount of sea crystal sand he got back was really pitiful. Now that the hot season is about to come, the price of sea crystal sand may be even higher. That's why I want to go to the beach myself and negotiate with the orcs there, hoping that they can be kind. The priest sighed. At this time, Lang Yen, who was standing next to him, spoke up. Chief, I hunted a lot of prey not long ago, and I can contribute all of them. Really? The chief's eyes lit up instantly. Lang Yen, why did you prepare so many prey? Are you planning to use these prey to ask other females for mates at the sacrificial ceremony? Hearing this, Lang Yan's eyes darkened and he said nothing. The priest frowned and asked with concern, Lang Yan, if you take out all your prey, will it affect your performance at the sacrificial ceremony? It doesn't matter. Lang Yan interrupted the priest. Anyway, it's useless. The priest couldn't help but sigh, but didn't say anything else. The chief said, it's still not enough. Even with the remaining animal skins in my cave and the animal skins contributed by Lang Yan, we still can't exchange them for enough sea crystal sand to supply the entire tribe. The priest thought for a moment and said, how about calling on the orcs in the tribe to donate some? The clan leader nodded. This is the only way. After saying that, he turned to Lang Yen and said, Lang Yen, go gather the orcs of the tribe to gather in the square.
Yes.
Lang Yen nodded and went out. Soon as Lang Yen left, the clan leader's expression immediately became serious. Priest, do you still remember the prophecy left by the previous priest before he died? What? The priest paused, apparently not reacting. It's about the prophecy of the holy female. The patriarch reminded, don't you think that little female fits the prophecy? He finished speaking, the priest interrupted him and said, Chief, you are overthinking. The little female cannot be the one in the prophecy. Her arrival has brought so many good things to our tribe. How could she be the one in the prophecy? But the patriarch wanted to say something else. The priest interrupted again. We have to trust the little female. Let's not talk about the fact that she saved our lives this time. Do you remember that red fruit field? She wanted to use feces as fertilizer, but everyone disagreed. In the end, she only managed to fertilize a small field. I went to see it these days. The red fruits that were fertilized grew more luxuriantly than the others. You see, if everyone had trusted her at that time, our tribe would have developed better. The patriarch was silent. After a long while, he sighed and said, maybe I really am overthinking it. The priest patted the chief's shoulder and said sincerely, don't think too much. Our tribe owes her too much. We should treat her better in the future. The square of the Grey Wolf tribe. The chieftain stood under the statue as usual, loudly announcing that every household would be required to donate a portion of animal skins this time. In the past, everyone would definitely listen to the patriarch's speech very carefully, but this time, everyone's eyes and attention would unconsciously fall on the petite figure in the corner. The girl was wearing a clean animal skin skirt, had fair skin and bright eyes and eyebrows. She just stood there quietly, not speaking a word, not smiling, but she had suppressed all her glory. The entire square, there was no other sound except the voice of the patriarch. Very good. Since no one objects, then every household must donate at least 2 animal skins. Families with more than 6 male orcs must donate 4 animal skins. After the patriarch finished making the announcement, the crowd had not yet dispersed. Su Qianqian raised her head and subconsciously searched for Jillian, but found herself surrounded by many single men. Little female, will you attend the sacrificial ceremony the day after tomorrow? Su Qianqian, who already understood what the sacrificial ceremony represented, met everyone's expectant gazes, smiled slightly, and nodded, saying, I will participate. That's good. Everyone breathed a sigh of relief, and then they started chattering. Little female, what do you like to eat, dried meat? Or fresh meat soup? Little female, do you like the tiger skin?
Little female, you.
More and more orcs crowded together, almost surrounding Su Qianqian in a circle. On the ground left by the heavy rain, and someone accidentally slipped and fell to the ground amid the jostle. Why are you pushing so hard? Don't you have eyes? Hey, forget it. What are you saying to a cripple? He has already been abandoned by his own female. He is pitiful enough. Don't scold him. Bah, that's all his own fault. Who told him to be the beast husband of that bad female auntie? The bad-tempered orc spat at the orc on the ground and finally walked away angrily. Seeing this, the orcs nearby also looked at Wu Huan on the ground with contempt. Now Londi is scolded by everyone, as Wu Huan, who once tried his best to protect her, naturally does not get a good face from everyone. Seeing this, Su Qianqian quietly withdrew from the crowd. Jillian was standing not far away, waving at her. Su Qianqian strode over. As soon as she arrived in front of her, Jillian rushed over and hugged her. It's really you. Qianqian, you've become so beautiful that I can't recognize you. Su Qianqian couldn't help but smile when she heard this, remembering that the first person she saw when she opened her eyes when she arrived at the Grey Wolf tribe was Jillian. At that time, she was covered in smelly excrement, but only the little fool Jillian didn't despise her at all and thought she was infected with the smell of bedbugs. Fortunately, the first person I saw when I woke up was the kind and innocent Jillian. If it was someone else, I would have doubted her. Ah Jiao, this is for you. Su Qianqian quietly handed Ah Jiao the fertility pill that she had prepared long ago and said in a low voice, "This is the magic medicine I asked the beast god for. You must eat it when you get home. It can improve your body. In the future, you can have beast cubs by mating with other males." Really? Jillian's eyes lit up instantly, and she carefully held the fertility pill in her palm, with an extremely happy expression on her face. "Thank you, Qianqian. You are so nice." As she said this, she excitedly hugged Su Qianqian again. Su Qianqian touched her head, feeling deeply moved. In the entire Grey Wolf tribe, Jillian was the only one who completely trusted her and would not doubt anything she brought out. If it were someone else, they would probably doubt her medicine and ask where it came from. Thinking, Su Qianqian unconsciously shifted her gaze and looked elsewhere, but happened to see Wu Wan, who had been pushed to the ground just now, limping to his feet. He climbed with great difficulty, his face was covered with mud, and he looked very miserable. The orcs around saw it, but no one came forward to help him. Jillian naturally saw this scene, and being kind-hearted, she quickly stepped forward to help Wu Wan up. "Are you okay?" Karasuma shook his head and hurriedly broke free from Jillian's hand. But he used too much force and fell to the ground again. Jillian subconsciously reached out to help him, but Karasuma backed away using his hands and feet, with a look of fear on his muddy face. Don't touch me. It's dirty." Jillian froze in place, not daring to move. Seeing this, Su Qianqian sighed and walked forward. She looked at Karasuma's only remaining foot, and then at his broken right hand, which was twisted in a strange posture. Now, only one of Wu Huan's feet and one of his hands are still intact, but his appearance makes him no different from a useless person in the orc tribe. In the past, there were still 1 or 2 orcs who pitied him and would throw him some food so that he could barely survive. But ever since the incident with Lanny, he was naturally implicated. No orcs sympathized with him anymore, and some orcs even took out their anger on him. He has no hands and feet and cannot hunt. In the coming hot season, he will probably be abandoned by the tribe. Su Qianqian looked at Wu Wan now, and was silent for a long time, and suddenly said, "Wu Wan, I can help you heal your hand, but you have to swear to the beast god that in the future, no matter what danger you encounter, you must protect Ah Jiao with your life." "Qianqian?" Jillian looked at her in shock, as if she had not expected her to say such a thing. Karasuma shook his head in despair. "Impossible. You can't heal my hand. There is no witch doctor in the world who can heal my hand." He was not the only orc who had his arm broken. There was once an orc in the tribe who broke his arm and could no longer hunt. The witch doctor tried many methods but could not cure him. Eventually, the orc was abandoned by the tribe, died outside, and became food for wild beasts. This is where he belongs too. It was a punishment for him, and he had no complaints. Seeing his hopeless look, Su Qianqian smiled coldly. Why, don't you even have the courage to try? Anyway, you are already a useless person, so it doesn't matter if you can't be cured. Qianqian, stop provoking him. Jillian gently tugged at the corner of her clothes. Su Qianqian gave her a reassuring look. This guy Karasuma has been through too much. He's already discouraged and has no fighting spirit anymore. He needs to be stimulated. She will be leaving in a few days, and Jillian has no one to take care of her, so she is always worried. As for the male Karasuma, although he is a little silly, it must be said that he is very responsible and is even willing to sacrifice his life for the female. After all these things, he must have come to his senses and realized that Lan Di was not a good person. She needed Wu Wan, an orc who could risk his life for females, to survive and protect Jillian. Kawamar, agree. The little female can heal your hand. Lang Yan appeared behind them at some point. Seeing Lang Yan suddenly appear, Wu Wan was stunned, and then he lowered his head in even more shame and inferiority. The hot season is coming. If you continue like this, you will be abandoned by your tribe. Lang Yan said in a deep voice. In the beast world, males are no more valuable than females. What the beast world lacks the least is male orcs. If a male loses even the most basic ability to survive, he will inevitably be spurned by the entire tribe, and being abandoned is a matter of time. Finally, under Lang Yan's persuasion, Wu Wan finally agreed to the treatment. However, just when they were about to send Karasuma back to the cave, they ran into trouble. Because Wu Wan had been driven out of Lanti a long time ago and had no place to live, he usually found a piece of open space in the tribe to rest. But now that I need to treat my arm, I have to find a safe cave to stay in temporarily. Go live in my cave. Lang Yan said, the chief asked me and the priest to go to the seaside to find orcs to exchange for sea crystal sand. I will not be home these few days, so you can stay in my cave temporarily. When will you be back? Su Qianqian asked. Lang Yan glanced at her, then withdrew his gaze and said, I will try my best to come back before the sacrificial ceremony. Although the seaside is far away from their Grey Wolf tribe, if he tries his best and travels day and night, he can return within 3 days. Hearing this, Su Qianqian did not ask any more questions, but just said lightly, then, be careful on your journey.
Okay. Lang Yan also responded silently.
Jillian looked at the interaction between the two, which was much quieter than usual, and frowned almost invisibly. She was about to ask, Su Qianqian spoke first. Take him away, I'll go back and get the medicine. After saying that, she left without looking back. Jiao looked at Su Qianqian's departing back and could only turn to look at Lang Yan, hesitating to speak. Did you have a quarrel?
Lang Yan.
No. After saying this, without waiting for Jiao to ask any more questions, he carried Wu Wan and went to his cave. Jillian could only suppress her doubts and follow. Su Qianqian returned to the cave, but did not rush to get the herbs that were drying in the corner. Instead, she took out her mobile phone from the storage ring and checked the time. The day after tomorrow is the sacrificial ceremony, so there are still 3 days left. She had originally planned to leave the tribe after the sacrificial ceremony, but Lang Yan had not returned on time by then, so she had to leave alone. She wanted to go to Wanshou City, but Lang Yan was not the only one who could take her there. She didn't know the way, but there were other ways to get to the City of Beasts. After thinking about it, she turned on the navigation and map display on her phone. Unlike before, this time the phone was able to accurately display the map of the beast world and its various locations even when there was no signal. This is because she bought a GPS positioning system from the interstellar businessman and installed it in her mobile phone. This GPS positioning system is more advanced than the world she was in before. It can accurately locate navigation and provide detailed map data information without any network. Moreover, this GPS positioning can also accurately display what is around on the map. It has an infrared detector that can detect any living creature. If there are wild beasts on the road, the map will also mark them, and she can avoid them, or use the magic cloak to walk past them invisibly. The map displayed on the phone Su Qianqian already had a vague idea of the direction in her mind. 10,000 Beasts was in the middle of the Beast World continent, and the Grey Wolf tribe where she was now was in the southern part of the Beast World continent. As long as she walked along the northern part, she would reach the city of 10,000 beasts. A series of supplies such as food and clothing have been prepared. As long as she waits for the day of the sacrificial ceremony, she can leave the Grey Wolf tribe and set off for the city of 10,000 beasts. When Su Qianqian came to the cave where Lang Yan lived with the herbs, Lang Yan was gone. Only a Jiao and Wu Wan were inside. Just now the priest sent someone to look for Lang Yan. Lang Yan has probably already gone to the beach with the priest. Without waiting for Su Yongqian to ask, Jiao took the initiative to explain why Lang Yan was away. Su Qianqian said, lightly, without much expression on her face. She had just looked at the map and found that the seaside was in the southeast of the Beast World continent. It was not far from the Grey Wolf tribe, but not too close either. With Lang Yan's speed, she could indeed make a round trip within 3 days. But he still has to take the elderly priest with him, and it may be difficult for him to return within 3 days. Su Qianqian didn't say much. She walked straight to Wu Wan, squatted down, and first looked at his twisted arm before saying, "The bones in your arm have grown out of place. I need to break your bones again to correct and reset them. This process is very painful. Without anesthesia, can you bear it?" Karasuma smiled bitterly. "Whatever you want." His arm was already broken anyway, so breaking it again wouldn't be a big deal. "Okay then." Su Qianqian threw him a wooden stick. "If the pain is unbearable, bite it." After that, she grasped Karasuma's twisted arm with both hands, rubbed the bones inside, found the right position, and twisted it hard. With a crack sound, Wu Wan's face turned pale with pain and beads of sweat appeared on his forehead. Seeing this, Jillian quickly stuffed the stick into his mouth, just blocking the scream that was about to come out. Su Qianqian calmly took out the herbs and bandages she had prepared earlier, crushed the herbs with a stone, applied them to Wu Wan's broken arm, then fixed the bones with a wooden board, and finally wrapped them tightly with bandages. "I have helped your bones to heal. Don't move your hands for the next few days. Just rest well in Lang Yan's cave and heal your wounds." Su Qianqian cleaned up the herbs on the ground and said, "I will come over to change the herbs for you every day. If you need anything, you can tell me." Karasuma nodded with a pale face. The pain in his arm made him unable to speak. Jillian considerately covered him with a piece of animal skin and placed a few pieces of dried meat next to him and said, "Then you should rest first. We will come to see you later." After saying that, the two left. It took some time to treat Karasuma's injuries. It was already afternoon, when the sun was at its hottest. As soon as they came out of the cave, they felt a gust of hot air rushing towards them, and the sun above their heads made them dizzy. Since the heavy rain stopped, the weather has been getting hotter and hotter. Jillian stuck out her tongue because of the heat and fanned herself with her hands, saying, "Qianqian, the hot season is coming soon." The priest predicted that this hot season will be very unbearable. "Why don't you stay here?" Su Qianqian shook her head and said nothing. She was determined to leave and would not stay in the Grey Wolf tribe any longer. Seeing this, Jillian sighed and stopped trying to persuade her. Su Qianqian looked up at the orcs not far away. Under the scorching sun, they were all running towards the river, holding animal skin bags in their hands, as if they were planning to store water. But the animal skin bag was too small, the largest being no bigger than a palm, and even if it was full it would only be enough for 1 or 2 days. She did have a wooden barrel carved out of a wooden stake in her cave, which could hold a lot of water.
She didn't need it now.
The tens of thousands of boxes of bottled water in her storage ring were enough for her to get through the entire hot season. Jiao, come with me. I have something to give you." So, the two of them went to Su Qianqian's cave together. Su Qianqian pushed the half-person-high wooden barrel in front of Jillian. "Jillian, this is for you. You can use it to hold a lot of water to get through this hot season." "Oh my God, Qianqian, did you make this? What a delicate thing." When Jillian saw the wooden barrel, she couldn't help but touch it up and down. As she touched it, she couldn't help but nod her head. "This doesn't seem to leak. How did you make it?" Su Qianqian recalled how she had worked so hard to chisel the wooden stake with a dagger, smiled helplessly, and said, "This thing is very simple. You can find 2 male orcs to help you, and let them use their claws to chisel from the inside." Gave a brief overview of how the barrels were made. The process was indeed not difficult, especially for an orc with sharp wolf claws. Jiao understood and nodded repeatedly. "Then I will go back and find a few males to try it out. If you place a few large wooden barrels like this in the cave and fill them with water, they can be used for a long time." She took a walk along the river bank early in the morning and was surprised to find that the water level on the river bank had dropped by an inch. It's only been a few days since the heavy rain, but the water level has dropped so quickly. This hot season came too quickly. As soon as Jillian left, Su Qianqian couldn't wait to open her storage ring. In addition to the tens of thousands of boxes of bottled water, there were also many cooling machines, including traditional air conditioners, portable fans, and ice makers. She doesn't have to worry about how she will get through the hot season after she leaves. But when it was time to go to bed at night, Su Qianqian felt that she had underestimated the hot season in the beast world. "It's too hot. It's really too hot. It was so hot that I couldn't sleep at all." Su Qianqian got up with sweat all over her forehead and quickly got up and lifted the straw curtain to let some wind from outside in. The whole cave was as hot as a sauna, making it hard for her to breathe. This is the bad thing about living in a cave. There are no windows and it's not ventilated, which makes it very uncomfortable in hot weather. Su Qianqian stood at the entrance of the cave for a while. It was still hot. The wind blowing in from outside was not cool but hot. Jillian told her that these days were not that hot, and when the hot season really comes it will be hot, and that temperature will be enough to roast meat placed on stones. Su Qianqian already felt very hot now, and she couldn't imagine how hot and unbearable the hot season described by Jillian would be. After sitting at the entrance of a cave for a while, Su Qianqian not only did not feel the slightest bit of coolness, but she became more and more irritated. She simply got up and went back to the cave, found a neck-hanging fan from her storage ring, and pressed the switch. A cool breeze blew, and Su Qianqian finally felt much better. This neck-hanging fan has a dual air outlet design, provides strong wind power, and the large-capacity battery provides long battery life and can be used all night. Su Qianqian planned to sleep with this fan hanging on tonight. But before going to bed, she took out a bucket of strawberry ice cream from her storage ring and ate it with a spoon. After taking a big bite of the ice cream, the sweet milky taste lingered on the tip of the tongue, delicious and cool. Su Qianqian squinted her eyes, feeling extremely excited. After eating a big bucket of ice cream, Su Qianqian finally had a good sleep tonight. When she woke up, it was already noon. Hanging around my neck also happened to be out of power. Su Qianqian quickly put away the fan, got up and left the cave. The sun had already risen above her head, and it felt scorching hotter than yesterday. She was about to turn around and go back to drink some water. She saw Jillian coming to her with sweat all over her forehead. "Qianqian, the wooden barrel you taught me to make yesterday is really amazing. I used it to hold a lot of water. When the tribe leader saw it, he came to ask me how to make this magical thing." Even though she was sweating profusely, Jillian's face was still full of excitement. "Qianqian, can I tell them how to make the wooden barrel?" "Of course. There's no special learning technique for this kind of thing. Anyone with a little knowledge can learn it with just one look." Su Qianqian smiled and pulled her into the cave. "It's too hot outside, come in and talk." Jillian wiped her sweat off her forehead and waved her hand nonchalantly. "No, I still have to go bring some food to Wuan. He should have finished the dried meat I left yesterday." Su Qianqian glanced at the dried meat in her hand and took out the herbs she had prepared earlier, saying, "Then I'll go with you and change the medicine for him." The two went to Lang Yan's cave and found Wu Wan lying inside. He looked much better than yesterday. Jillian stepped forward first and said, "Karasua, how are you? Is your arm feeling better?" When Wu Wan saw her, his usually depressed face actually showed a few smiles. "Much better. The little female's treatment is really effective. I feel that my hand can move." Su Qianqian walked over to check. Seeing this, I couldn't help but be shocked. The orc's recovery ability is so strong. His arm bone was clearly broken yesterday, but it grew back today. Su Qianqian untied the bandages and the wooden board that fixed her arm, and noticed that the herbs wrapped inside had faded a lot in color, and the medicinal effects had almost been completely absorbed. It seems that not only do the orcs have strong recovery abilities, but the medicinal effects of the herbs in this beast world are also stronger than those in the world she was in before, which is why his injuries healed so quickly. Su Qianqian replaced the herbs for Wu Wan and said with a smile, "It seems that your injury will be healed in less than 3 days, but try not to move your arm in the next 2 days. I am afraid it will affect the recovery of your arm." Jiao also smiled and nodded. Yes, Wu Wan. When your injury is healed, you can still join us in the sacrificial ceremony. Speaking of the sacrificial assembly, the smile on Karasuma's face froze, and his expression became sad and solemn again. Jillian was stunned when she saw this, as if she realized that she had said the wrong thing, and quickly covered her mouth. Karasuma had just been kicked out by Landy, ending a failed relationship, so he definitely didn't want to participate in tomorrow's sacrificial ceremony. Jillian didn't dare to say anything more. She put down the dried meat she had prepared earlier and pulled Su Qianqian away. After the two of them left the cave, Jiao couldn't help but sigh. "Qianqian, do you think Wu Wan can cheer up again in the future?" Su Qianqian glanced at the cave and shook her head. "I don't know. But no matter whether she can cheer up or not, Wu Wan has already promised her that no matter what danger she encounters in the future, she must protect Jiao with her life." "Oh, forget it." After sighing, Jiao took off the animal skin bag hanging from her waist, handed it to Su Qianqian, and said in a low voice, "Qianqian, there is some dried meat in it. Take it with you when you leave the tribe, and eat it on the way." Hearing this, Su Qianqian was stunned. She subconsciously took a look into the animal skin bag in Jillian's hand, and found that it was filled with a lot of dried meat, which was the food that Jillian had been hoarding for a long time. "How can this be? This is all your food. How can you give it all to me?" Su Qianqian quickly refused. "Qianqian, since you have decided to leave the Grey Wolf tribe, you will need food on the road. You must take these dried meats with you." Jiao shoved the animal skin bag full of dried meats into her hands in a rare firm manner. "Besides, the hot season is coming soon. The wild animals have all run away to avoid the cool. It will be difficult for you to find food outside. No, I can't take it." Su Qianqian refused firmly and returned the animal skin bag. The unbearable hot season is coming, and food will definitely be scarce by then. Jillian gave all the food to herself, so what will she eat? Seeing that Jiao was about to put more food into his hands, she quickly made up a lie. "Don't worry, Lang Yan also knows that I am leaving the tribe. He has already prepared a lot of food for me. You can keep these for yourself." "Lang Yan also prepared food for you?" Jiao stopped what she was doing when she heard it, and a smile immediately appeared on her face. "That's good. Since he also prepared food for you, then I won't worry anymore." Jiao finally took back the animal skin bag and asked, "Qianqian, will you come to participate in the sacrificial ceremony tomorrow night?" The sacrificial ceremony is usually arranged on a clear night, and the orcs can live together after finding each other as partners. Su Qianqian shook her head. Maybe he'll come to take a look. After all, it is a sacrificial meeting unique to the orc tribe. It is a custom that is held only once every few years. It is not too much to take a look at it to broaden your horizons. "Huh, that's great. I'll come find you then," Jillian said happily. "Qianqian, you're so beautiful. There will definitely be a lot of males asking you for a partner at the sacrificial ceremony." The two chatted all the way and left Lang Yan's cave. However, they didn't know that after they walked away, a figure slowly walked out from the bushes next to them. Landy looked at Su Qianqian's departing back fiercely, the hatred and jealousy in his eyes almost overflowing from his eyes. This Su Qianqian actually hid her appearance and sneaked into the Grey Wolf tribe. Her mind is so sinister. Damn it, Bai Qi was right. She is indeed a saintly female, and only a saintly female would have such a seductive and bewitching look. Landy stamped his feet angrily and then looked at the cave behind him. From the tribe leader that Lang Yan and the priest had left the tribe. Now that Lang Yan was not in the cave, what were these two guys doing in Lang Yan's cave? Londi was confused for a moment, then walked into the cave without hesitation. Karasuya? Londi was stunned when he saw Karasuya lying in the cave. Why are you in there? Seeing Londi suddenly appear, Wu Wan's expression paused, and then he frowned and said, I should be the one asking you this question. Didn't you leave the Grey Wolf tribe? Why are you here again? Kawamaru, what's your attitude? How dare you talk to me like that? Seeing that Kawamaru was no longer as flattering and respectful as before, Londi immediately cursed out loud in dissatisfaction. Don't forget, I am your mistress. If you dare to disrespect me, I can let the orcs of the tribe punish you in the most severe way. There was still a commanding tone in her voice as always, as if she had forgotten that she was the one who was to be punished. Female master? Wu Wan sneered. His eyes coldly swept across the dim and disappearing beast mark on Londi's wrist. His voice was unprecedentedly cold. Haven't you already kicked me out and dissolved our relationship? I'm no longer your beast husband. What qualifications do you have to order me around? You. It was the first time that Londi was spoken to like this by a male, and she was so angry that she was speechless. Karasuya still stared at her with his cold eyes, raised his broken leg, and said word by word, Don't forget, I am in this state now because of you. Don't you think I am embarrassing you? How dare you come to me now? You. How dare you talk to me like that? Londi's eyes turned red with anger, and he asked sharply, I just saw that female Su Qianqian come in. What happened between you? Did she also confuse you? That's why you dare to talk to me like that? It has nothing to do with her. Wu Wan said coldly, I don't want to see you again in the future. Get out. As soon as the word, get out, came out, Londi was completely furious and subconsciously wanted to pounce on Wu Wan and beat him up. But then she realized that this was Lang Yan's cave, located in the center of the tribe. Orcs would often pass by here. If the passing orcs found her here, she would be in trouble. Just wait. One day you will regret it. Londi was so angry that he threw down these words viciously and quickly left the cave. She doesn't have time to waste here. One day she will make those who betrayed her regret it. Londi clenched the medicine bag in his hand, stomped his feet twice in hatred, and then rushed to the tribe's confinement cave. Soon as she left, a beast cub not far away slowly poked its head out. His little face was full of doubts. He stood there thinking for a while, then ran back to his cave with his legs clattering. Mother, I saw that bad female came back. As soon as he entered the cave, the cub hurried to his mother to complain. Iluwa was holding her animal bag and drinking water in big gulps. The hot weather was very unbearable for a fat female like her. She could only control her body temperature by drinking a lot of water. What bad female? Ilua's face was covered with sweat. He glanced at his cub with a somewhat impatient expression on his face. It's the one called Lon. The cub tried hard to think, but couldn't call out the other party's complete name. He was anxious and could only go forward to pull Ilua. Mother, you accompany me to find that beautiful female. I want to tell her that the bad female is back. Ilua was confused by his address and had no idea what his cub was saying. She held the animal bag and subconsciously wanted to scold the other party, asking him to stop disturbing her. But when she saw the little face full of anxiety and the way he wanted to pull her out despite the sweat on his forehead, she finally sighed with some softness of heart. Okay, stop pulling, I'll go with you. Ilua stuffed the animal bag into the cub's hand and said with habitual impatience, Drink some water first. No, I'm not thirsty. The cub stuffed the bag back into Ilua's hand. Mom, drink it. Mom needs water more than I do. Hearing this, Ilua paused. Then, she turned her head away awkwardly and said, Okay, don't show me that look. I'll take you there. After saying that, she put down the animal bag in her hand and led the cub out of the cave. When a mother and son, one big and one small, appeared in front of Su Qianqian's cave, Su Qianqian was very confused. What are you doing here? I don't know. He insisted on coming to see you. Ilua glanced at his cub in a bad tone. Just now, became quiet when it arrived in front of Su Qianqian. He clutched the corner of his clothes, looked at Su Qianqian timidly, and murmured, as if he didn't know what to say. Su Qianqian smiled helplessly when she saw this. Then she walked forward, squatted down in front of the cub, and asked in a gentle voice, "You are so anxious. Is there something important you want to tell your sister?" When the girl smiled, her eyebrows and eyes were curved, as beautiful as the crescent moon in the sky. The beast cub blushed immediately. "That's right, that," he stammered, as if embarrassed, and buried his head even more. "That girl's name is Londi. Yes, I remember now. Her name is Londi. I just saw her come back." "Lanty is back?"
Shukyankian frowned.
"Yes, it's her." The cub nodded repeatedly. "I just saw her." Su Qianqian's eyes darkened. "Where did you see her?" "That." The beast cub bit his finger and tried hard to recall. "She entered Brother Langyan's cave, came out very quickly, and then went to that cave." "Oh, right, that's the cave of Grandma Guan, the confinement cave." Ilua understood and added, "He means that after Londi left Langyan's cave, he went to the confinement cave." Confinement cave. Why did Londi go to see the witch doctor?
Could it be?
As if she had thought of some possibility, Su Qianqian's eyes turned cold, but in an instant, she smiled and touched the head of the beast cub in front of her gratefully. "Thank you for telling me this important news." Was touched, and he buried his head even lower. Su Qianqian stood up and asked Iluo beside her, "Lanny went to find your mother. Aren't you worried that she will do something bad to your mother?" "What does it have to do with me?" Iluo curled his lips. His expression was very calm. He really didn't care at all. Su Qianqian couldn't help but sigh when she saw this. It was indeed so. After the witch doctor was imprisoned in the confinement cave, she was worried that Iroh would be very angry about it and would take his anger out on her. However, Ajiao told her that Iluo didn't care about anything except food, and although she respected her mother, she would not sympathize with the witch doctor since he made such a big mistake. Now it seems that it is true. But in general, thank you again, Iroh. Thank you for bringing him here to tell me such important news. Iluo curled his lips, turned his head away, and said, "Instead of thanking me here, why don't you go and take a look? In case she has made some poison to harm people again, don't let me be implicated." "Okay." Su Qianqian nodded slightly and hurried towards the confinement cave where the witch doctor was imprisoned. As soon as she left, Iluo seemed to be relieved and looked down at his cub, but when he saw his red face, staring at Su Qianqian's leaving back, he suddenly became furious. "Look at your useless appearance. What are you standing there for? Come back with me." At the same time, the other side, confinement cave, where the witch doctor was imprisoned, was a very narrow and cramped cave. There was a large rock blocking the entrance of the cave. It took Londi a lot of effort to move it a little bit, but her fat body still couldn't squeeze in, so she could only stick her head in to look. The inside of the cave was pitch black with little light getting in, and coupled with the hot weather, there was a stuffy and unpleasant stench coming from inside. Londi was almost vomiting because of the smell. This is the punishment for being locked up in the confinement cave. There is no food or water in the narrow cave, and one can only rely on the orcs outside to feed him every day. One has to eat, drink, defecate, urinate, and sleep in the cave. Although this punishment is not fatal, it is sometimes more unbearable than death. "Who's outside?" Along with the stench that spread, the witch doctor's weak voice was heard from inside. "It's me." Londi took a deep breath of fresh air and then stuck his head in again. "Witch doctor, I have something important to tell you. Tell me quickly, where did you hide the beast-luring grass?" There was a long silence in the confinement cave, and then a voice was heard. "What do you want to do with the luring grass?"
Don't worry about it.
"Just tell me where you hid the monster grass." Londi urged impatiently. "Hurry up, I don't have time to waste here with you." She didn't look like she was begging anyone, but the witch doctor inside laughed mockingly. "Why? Do you still want to use the herb to trap that female?" "You." Having his little thoughts exposed, Londi immediately yelled with a red face, "What do you care about me?" She hid in the tribe leader's cave. She had been hesitating whether she should put the packet of aconite powder in the tribe leader's food. She hesitated for a long time, but ultimately couldn't make up her mind. All this is Su Qianqian's fault. If anyone was going to drug someone, they should have put it in her food. But she had no chance to drug her, so she could only use the old method and kill her with the animal luring grass. Give up. My herbs have all been confiscated by the tribe leader. The witch doctor's voice came from the confinement cave. Besides, do you think the same trick will work on her again? You didn't kill her last time, and she has already been on guard against you. When Londi heard this, he punched a stone in anger. Damn it, what should I do? Is there no way to deal with this, Su Qianqian? I do have a plan. At this moment, the witch doctor spoke again, and his hoarse voice seemed to carry some bewitching power. As long as you do as I say, not only will that female become the target of public criticism, you will also become the benefactor of the Grey Wolf tribe and regain the love of the tribe members. How do you think? Being locked up in the confinement cave, she only had a small piece of dried meat every day. This little bit of food wouldn't kill her, but it could keep her alive, making her live in extreme pain every day. And the culprit who caused all this, the female named Su Qianqian, she would never let her off easily. Londi's eyes lit up. Then tell me, what should I do? You have some aconitum powder on you, right? The witch doctor asked instead of answering. How do you know? Londi was shocked and subconsciously held the herbs hidden around his waist tightly. Don't forget, my sense of smell is the most sensitive among all the tribesmen. The witch doctor's faint voice continued. You do as I say. First, you take the aconitum powder. The two people's secret conversation gradually became lower, but Su Qianqian, who was hiding in the distance, heard it all. She looked coldly at Londi, who was leaning on the stone and listening attentively, and a cold smile appeared at the corner of her lips. Great, Lanti, you're back. Since there is a road to heaven but you don't take it, and there is no door to hell but you insist on breaking in, then I will get rid of you before I leave. Thinking of this, Su Qianqian glanced at the mobile phone in her hand, which was recording word for word of the conspiracy between the witch doctor and Londi. Time quickly came to the next day. Tonight is the day when the Grey Wolf tribe holds a sacrificial ceremony. Originally stayed indoors due to the hot weather, now became busy and began to decorate the tribal square. Male orcs picked up firewood and built a bonfire in the center of the square. The females were also busy, collecting some flowers nearby to decorate the square and covering the square with soft animal skins. Su Qianqian stood at the entrance of the cave and subconsciously looked up at the sun that was gradually setting. The sacrificial ceremony was about to begin, but Lang Yen still hadn't returned. After all, we can't see each other for the last time. Thinking of this, Su Qianqian sighed almost imperceptibly. As soon as she looked up, she saw a male orc rushing toward her. The clan leader wants to see you. Go there right away. Su Qianqian looked at the strange male orc in front of her and paused slightly. Compared to the orcs in the beast world, the other party was very thin, with an unnaturally pale skin. His hair was messy, and the ends were very long, almost covering his eyes. Although he looked unfamiliar, the wolf tail behind him indicated that he was an orc from the Grey Wolf tribe. Why is the tribe leader looking for me? Su Qianqian looked at the orc in front of her and asked casually. I don't know. The other person shook his head, but he didn't dare to look up at her. But the clan leader is very anxious. It seems like there is something important. I see. Su Qianqian narrowed her eyes slightly, and the corners of her lips curled up almost imperceptibly. Thank you for coming to tell me. I will go find the clan leader now. After saying that, she stopped looking at the orc in front of her, turned around, and walked towards the chief's cave. After she left, the male orc, who had been keeping his head down and not daring to look at her, slowly raised his head, his gloomy eyes filled with the joy of his trick having succeeded. Su Qianqian came all the way to the tribe leader's cave. She stood in front of the cave entrance and called out, Tribe leader, I heard you have something to ask me? Was no response from inside. Su Qianqian stood at the entrance of the cave and waited for a while, but still no sound was heard. Then she walked in with a frown. Chief, I'm coming in. The light in the cave was dim, and it was empty with no one in it. Su Qianqian looked carefully and saw the clan leader lying on the ground in the corner. Chief. She walked over quickly, squatted down, and took a look. The clan leader's face was pale, and his lips were a deep purple, obviously suffering from poisoning. Su Qianqian quickly checked his breath and found that he was still breathing, but had fainted. But what kind of poison has the patriarch been poisoned by? Su Qianqian took a quick look and saw the medicine bag thrown aside. She picked it up and smelled it, and it was indeed aconitum powder. However, at this moment, Londi rushed in with the orcs of the Grey Wolf tribe. Chief, what's wrong with you? The clan leader looks like he's been poisoned. When everyone saw the patriarch lying on the ground, they rushed forward in panic. Su Qianqian was pushed aside. Just as she was about to say that the clan leader was poisoned by the aconite powder, she saw Londi beside her curling her lips, suddenly pointing at her and screaming, "It's you. You did it, right? You poisoned the clan leader." Everyone looked at Su Qianqian in unison. Su Qianqian curled her lips. "What evidence do you have?" "The clan leader was like this when I came in, Londi. Please don't slander others randomly." "Humph, I didn't slander you." Londi pointed at the medicine bag in her hand with an extremely confident look. That medicine bag obviously contained aconitum powder. "In the entire Grey Wolf tribe, you are the only one who knows that aconitum powder is poisonous and how much dose it takes to kill a person. If it wasn't you who used aconitum powder to frame the tribe leader, who else could it be?" Su Qianqian listened to this and rolled her eyes speechlessly. Although she already knew about Londi's plot to frame her, Su Qianqian still felt speechless when she heard her idiotic speech of finding a random excuse to put the blame on herself. Saying that she knew the toxicity and dosage of aconitum powder, it is certain that she was the murderer who framed the clan leader. Only a fool like Londi could make such irrelevant and idiotic remarks. Sure enough, no one present believed what Londi said. How is it possible? "Londi, don't talk nonsense. How could a little female frame the chief?" Everyone said, "Yes, the little female saved the orcs of our entire tribe and cured our illness. She has no reason to do such a thing. How is that impossible?" Londi said viciously, "There is no one here except her, and we saw her holding a poison medicine bag when we came in. If it wasn't her who killed the tribe leader, who else could it be? I think Su Qianqian is a spy sent by another tribe to frame our Grey Wolf tribe."
Impossible.
"Londi, don't talk nonsense. A female would never do such a thing." He Mu immediately stood up and said. He had already learned from Lang Yan that Su Qianqian was going to quietly leave the Grey Wolf tribe. Since she was about to leave, how could she do such a thing that would harm others and benefit herself? Seeing that no one believed him, Londi bit his lips tightly.
Why?
Why does the entire tribe trust this which Su Qianqian so much? She give to the orcs of the tribe. Londi's face turned red with anger. Su Qianqian didn't say anything, just looked at her with her arms folded. Londi, I think you are jealous of the little female, so you deliberately framed her, right?" He Mu saw through her weirdness at a glance. "In order to escape punishment, you have already left the tribe, but suddenly appeared and lied to us that the chief has something important to announce, and asked us all to come here, just to let us see this scene, right? You don't talk nonsense." Londi roared angrily, but couldn't say a single powerful word. However, at this moment, a thin male orc stood up.
"I saw it."
It was this new female who killed the tribe leader.
By
Sure? Everyone couldn't help but show surprise on their faces when they saw the thin orc who suddenly stood up. Bai Chi can be said to be a rather invisible little person in the tribe. He seldom appears in public. Because of his thin stature, he has an inferiority complex and is sensitive. He rarely gets along with the orcs in the tribe and usually keeps to himself. Therefore, many orcs in the tribe had rarely seen him, and even if they saw him, they could not call out his name. But at this moment, Bai Chi not only took the initiative to stand up and speak, but his thin and pale face still had a righteous look. "I saw this female Su Qianqian poison the tribe leader with aconite powder." He said word for word, "Today when I went to the river to fetch water, I saw her sneaking into the tribe leader's cave with a medicine bag. I was puzzled, so I followed her quietly, and then I saw her poisoning the tribe leader's food, and then tricking the tribe leader into drinking the poison broth." Really? Really? Everyone listened to Bai Chi's words with incredible expressions on their faces. Did the little female really do it? Everyone looked at Su Qianqian. their faces full of disbelief and a hint of doubt. Su Qianqian rolled her eyes. Aconitum powder is a Chinese herbal medicine that tastes spicy and bitter. Bai Qi said that she put aconitum powder in the food to trick the tribe leader into drinking it. How stupid must the tribe leader be to drink such a spicy and bitter broth? But she didn't explain. She wanted to see how Bai Qi wanted to slander her. Also, if there is anyone else in this tribe who wants to frame her, she will use this opportunity to find them all out.
Impossible.
The little female would never do that. Unlike everyone else's suspicion, Heimu still stood on Su Qianqian's side. He looked at Bai Qi angrily and asked sternly, Bai Qi, what on earth are you thinking? Why are you helping Lan Di to frame the little female? Framed? Bai Qi showed an innocent expression and said weakly, I am not Lan Di's beastly husband, and I am not familiar with her. Why should I help her frame a young female? I just told everything I saw. His show of weakness apparently made more orcs believe his words. Hey Mu, don't be so aggressive. Bai Qi has always been alone. He is used to being alone. How could he help a bad female like Lan Di to harm others? Hey Mu was so angry that he couldn't speak, but he still insisted. Even if he won't help Lan Di to do evil, but I won't do such a thing as poisoning and framing. Everyone looked at Bai Qi, whose face was filled with innocence and grievance, and then looked at Su Qianqian, who was silent beside him. They were all in a dilemma, not knowing who to believe. Su Qianqian looked at the hesitant and tangled expressions of the crowd and sighed helplessly and sadly. Even now, there are still some tribesmen who do not believe her. She has done so many good things for the tribe, yet an unknown orc can slander her with just a few words, and some people actually believe his words. There are only a few people who can trust her unconditionally. What on earth is she expecting? There was a hint of gloom in Su Qianqian's disappointed eyes. As expected, she was just a female from outside. No matter how much she did and how much she contributed to the tribe, when faced with such a thing, there would still be people who would doubt her. If you are not of the same race, you will never be able to trust each other 100%. Su Qianqian sighed almost imperceptibly. At this moment, she became more determined to leave. She looked at the smug Lan Di and said slowly, Lan Di, you teamed up with Bai Qi to frame me and did such a sad and evil thing. Aren't you afraid of the beast god's anger and blame? Beast god? Lan Di sneered. Don't use the beast god to pressure me. If the beast god knew that you were such a bad female who poisoned and framed people, I'm afraid she would want to punish you even more. Really? Su Qianqian smiled coldly and slowly pressed the phone hidden in her pocket. Immediately, the voices of an old man and a young man rang out clearly throughout the cave. Witch doctor. Give me the beast. Luring grass. Why do you still want to use the animal luring grass to trap that female? As long as you do as I say, not only will that female become. Then tell me, what should I do? First, you secretly put the aconitum powder in the tribe leader's food, then find someone to trick the female into the tribe leader's cave, and finally trick everyone else here. As the recording sounded out of nowhere, Lanti's face turned pale instantly. Lanti! Everyone listened to the sound that came out of nowhere in the cave, their faces filled with anger. So you did all this. You actually dared to drug the tribe leader for your own selfish desires. However, at this moment, Lanti completely ignored the scolding from the crowd. She looked around the cave with horror on her face, as if trying to find the source of the sound. But I can't find it at all. The sound seemed to come out of nowhere. Seeing Lan Di's horrified face, Su Qianqian smiled and said slowly, See, even the beast god couldn't stand the evil things you did, and appeared in person to announce your and the witch doctor's tricks to everyone. Su Qianqian's words completely stunned everyone. Is this the beast man appearing? This must be the orcs showing their spirit. Otherwise, who would have the ability to reproduce the tricks of Lanti and the witch doctor in front of us? Oh my god! It's the beast god appearing. Beast god, please calm down. In the spacious cave, everyone knelt on the ground. Lan Di even prostrated himself on the ground, knocking his head against the ground with sweat all over his forehead, muttering in fear, I I was wrong. Beast God, please spare my life. Su Qianqian looked at the orcs kneeling devoutly in the cave, and a sneer slowly appeared at the corner of her lips. Sure enough, the most effective and direct way is to use mobile phone recording. But the next second, her smile froze on her lips, because she saw Bai Qi standing there with her. In the cave where everyone was kneeling, they were the only two people still standing. She stood there because she knew that this so-called appearance of the beast god was something she had deliberately created. But what about Bai Qi? Facing the appearance of the beast god, why could he still stand there so calmly without any fear or alarm on his face? Su Qianqian cast a doubtful look at him, but she only saw Bai Qi raise his eyes that were covered by his long hair. His gloomy eyes were filled with unconcealable madness and craziness. Saint female. You are indeed a saint female. What holy female? Bai Qi's words quickly attracted everyone's attention. Everyone was still wondering what the holy female meant. Jillian rushed in with a few orcs. Landy, the witch doctor has explained everything. I wonder if you have anything else to say. Jillian waved her hand, and Wuan behind her pushed out the skinny witch doctor. When everyone saw Wuan with his arms intact, before they could be surprised, they saw the smelly witch doctor being pushed to the ground in front of them, and the skinny hands rushed over to strangle Landy. It's you. It was clearly you who wanted to drug people. Why did you give me away? The witch doctor's shrill and sharp voice rang in everyone's ears. Landy reacted and immediately kicked the witch doctor away. What have I done wrong? It was obviously you who ordered all this. As she spoke, she knelt on the ground and kowtowed several times, crying and begging. Lord Beast God, you should have seen it all. This vicious witch doctor ordered me to do all this. It has nothing to do with me. Please don't punish me, Lanty. The witch doctor was furious and rushed over to beat Lanty. It was you who asked me for the herb to trap the little female. It was you last time, and it's you this time too. You actually put the blame on me for all this. The two of them immediately started fighting each other and revealed each other's past, including how Landy used the animal-luring grass to frame Jillian and Su Qianqian. They told the story in detail. When everyone heard these words, they couldn't help but be shocked. It turned out that Landy had done so many evil things in private. Not only did she seduce Jillian's males, she also used the animal-luring grass to frame the females in the tribe again and again. This crime is simply unforgivable. That's enough. Just as everyone was shocked, the tribe leader who had been lying motionless on the ground slowly sat up, staring at Landy with his cloudy old eyes, his voice full of resentment. Landy, you actually dared to do so many evil things behind our backs, and even went so far as to drug me. I was so kind to take you into my cave. You really disappoint me. Everyone looked at the resurrected clan leader and said in surprise, Clan leader, you are not poisoned? All this is thanks to the little female. The patriarch raised his hand to wipe off the purple flower liquid on his lips, then looked at Su Qianqian with a guilty look on his face. I'm sorry, I should have believed what you said at the time. Hearing this, Su Qianqian pursed her lips and said nothing. Learning yesterday that Lanty and the witch doctor were plotting to frame her, she went to find the chief. But the patriarch didn't believe it, thinking that no matter how evil Lanty was, he wouldn't poison him. Su Qianqian stopped trying to persuade him. Although she had a recording on her phone, it was not easy for her to show it to the clan leader directly. But since the clan leader did not believe her, she would let him see it with his own eyes. Hence, the following strategy of taking advantage of the opponent's strategy was adopted. Before Su Qianqian was tricked by Bai Qi into going to the tribe leader's cave, she had already made an appointment with Ah Jiao in advance to go to the confinement cave to find the witch doctor and lie to her that Landy's plan had failed and that he had already betrayed her. This is how the dog-eat-dog drama unfolded.
So,
You planned all this. Landy, who understood the whole story, looked at Su Qianqian in disbelief. He then looked at the purple flower juice that had not been wiped clean on the chief's lips. It was clearly the juice that was picked from the flowers placed in the tribal square and crushed and smeared on the lips. If she had been more careful, she would have discovered that the patriarch was not poisoned at all, but was unconscious on purpose to expose her true identity. Lan Di regretted it so much that he wanted to bite off his tongue. At this moment, the clan leader no longer had any sympathy for Lan Ti. After all, Lan Ti had poisoned him for his own selfish desires. He looked at Lan Di with cold eyes and said in a calm voice, "Come here, tie up Lan Di, give her 20 lashes, and throw her into the confinement cave. Do not give her any food. Feed her to the wild animals in the mountains after she starves to death." When Lan Di heard the tribe leader's judgment-like voice, he trembled like a sieve and knelt down in front of the tribe leader, crying, "Tribal leader, I was wrong. Please forgive me. I won't dare to do it again." In the tribe was a bone whip made of wild animal bones. One whip could tear a person's skin and flesh apart, causing him excruciating pain. In the past, Lang Yen was punished with 5 whips for accidentally hurting a female, and he had to lie in a cave to recuperate for several months before he recovered. If these 20 bone whips fell on her, how could she survive? Lan Di kowtowed desperately to admit his mistake and beg for mercy, his face covered with tears and snot. But at this moment, the clan leader's face was filled with nothing but indifference and numbness, and he had no sympathy for Lanti's crying and begging for mercy. He used to sympathize with Lanti and let her live in his cave, even though she committed such a big mistake. But in the end, Lanti was so cruel that she poisoned him and killed him. "Lanti, you have brought this upon yourself. You can't blame anyone else." After the chief said this, he no longer looked at Lanti, but turned his gaze to the skinny male in the corner. "Bai Chi, why did you team up with Lanti to frame the little female?" Unlike Lan Di, who was crying and screaming, Bai Chi was not panicked at all after being found out. He cast a gloomy look at Lan Di and cursed him as a useless waste. Then he slowly turned his head and looked directly at the clan leader, sneering and mocking him. "What a stubborn old waste. Clan leader, you are already so old, and you can't judge people well. Why do you always blame others for your mistakes?" The clan leader did not expect that Bai Chi, who was always silent, would say such a thing. He was furious and said, "Bai Chi, you are so brave. Come on, catch him." As soon as the clan leader finished speaking, Bai Qilong smiled and took a step back. With lightning speed, he put a bone blade against Ah Jiao's neck. "Who dares to come over here? If you take another step forward, I will kill this female." The chieftain was so angry that he could hardly speak. He took several deep breaths before pointing at Bai Chi and angrily said, "Bai Chi, what on earth do you want to do? Ah Jiao is a female in the tribe. How dare you hurt her? Let her go quickly, otherwise, you know what will happen to you. Since you dare to do all this, I naturally know what my end will be." Facing the threat from the patriarch, Bai Chi just sneered and looked at Su Qianqian. Su Qianqian met his gaze. Her eyes darkened slightly, and she said in a cold voice, "Bai Shi, what do you want in order to let Ah Jiao go?" "It seems that this Jillian is indeed your weak spot." Bai Chi observed Su Qianqian's expression, and a smug smile appeared on his gloomy face. "How about this, little female? How about you use yourself to exchange for Jillian? I will let Jillian go, and you come with me." Before Su Qianqian could speak, Hei Mu beside her had already cursed. "Bai Chi, what are you dreaming about? The little female will never go with you. Let Ah Jiao go." "Really?" Bai Chi sneered and pressed the bone blade against Ah Jiao's neck. A cut immediately appeared on the skin of Ah Jiao's neck, and blood was dripping. "If you don't agree, I will stab the bone blade into her neck in front of you."
Stop.
Seeing the sharp bone blade pointed at Ah Jiao's neck, Su Qianqian didn't care about anything else and said quickly, "Let her go, I'll go with you."
No.
Hei Mu stopped her immediately. "Who knows what this guy wants to do to you, little female? You must not go with him." "It's okay, I have a way to deal with him." Su Qianqian pressed Hei Mu's hand and strode towards Bai Chi. She had an electron ray gun in her hand, and once she got out of the Grey Wolf tribe, it would be easy to deal with Bai Shi.
No.
"Qianqian, don't come over." Even though Bai Chi was holding a bone blade against her neck, Ah Jiao still desperately shook her head at Su Qianqian, signaling her not to come over. But seeing Su Qianqian still walking towards her firmly, Jillian closed her eyes in despair. However, at this moment, Karasuma, who had been standing in the corner, suddenly appeared behind Bai Qi and smashed the 2 wooden boards used to fix his arms on the back of Bai Qi's head. With a crack, the 2 wooden boards were broken directly. Bai Qi was caught off guard and felt the pain, and the bone blade in his hand fell to the ground. Upon seeing this, Wu Wan immediately pushed the stunned Jiao towards the crowd and turned around to press Bai Qi to the ground. Bai Qi came back to his senses, touched the blood on the back of his head, and was so angry that he picked up the bone blade on the ground and stabbed it towards Wu Wan on his body. Puchi was the sound of the bone blade piercing into the flesh. Blood instantly splattered all over Bai Shi's face. Karasua, Jillian's scream echoed throughout the cave. Everyone seemed to wake up from a dream and rushed forward to restrain Bai Qi, trying to save Wu Huan. But it was still a step too late. The bone blade had already penetrated deeply into Wu Wan's chest. Large streams of blood gushed out and could not be stopped.
Karima.
Wu, don't die. Jillian covered Karasuma's chest, which was bleeding continuously, and almost burst into tears. Everyone was horrified by Karasuma's miserable condition and stood there in a daze, not knowing what to do. Let me take a look. Su Qianqian hurried forward and took out hemostatic medicine and gauze from the storage bag. You bunch of rubbish, let me go. Bai Qi, who was being held down by Kuroki, started to struggle, cursing as he struggled. You forced me to do this.
Don't blame me.
After saying that, he somehow found the strength to free one hand. There was a bone whistle hidden in the palm of that hand. When the tribe leader saw the bone whistle, he suddenly thought of something and his face changed drastically. He quickly shouted, "Quick! Stop him from blowing the bone whistle." But it was still a step too late. Bai Qi stuffed the bone whistle into his mouth and blew it desperately. He seemed to be using up all his strength to blow the bone whistle, and his face turned red. The bone whistle was particularly different, very loud and sharp, as if it was summoning something. At this moment, everyone realized that something was wrong, and they swarmed over Bai Qi, who was desperately blowing the bone whistle. Some even punched Bai Qi in the face. The bone whistle mixed with blood came out of his mouth, along with Bai Qi's knocked-out teeth. The bone whistle had fallen out of Bai Qi's mouth. The faces of the people who heard the sound of the bone whistle gradually turned grim. Su Qianqian was busy treating Wu Wan's wound and had no time to notice the increasingly ugly expressions on everyone's faces until she felt the ground beneath her feet begin to tremble slightly. She suspected that she had seen it wrong and put her palm on the ground, but she felt an extremely powerful, strange energy. A powerful psychic is approaching. Before Su Qianqian could express her guess, she heard a muffled thunder in the clear sky outside the cave. A bolt of lightning fell and split the statue in the square. The statue was still decorated with flowers and petals used by the females, but they were now reduced to ashes under the thunder and lightning. Su Qianqian's eyes were full of surprise. That was the statue that symbolized the faith and heritage of the Grey Wolf tribe, and it was split in half just like that. It is so bold as to do such a thing? Several young males were as surprised as Su Qianqian. They were angry at who dared to do such a thing, and wanted to go out to take a look, but were stopped by the clan leader. The chieftain's lips trembled as he uttered a few words with difficulty. Quickly escape. The stray orcs are coming. Wandering orc exploded in everyone's ears like thunder. All the orcs looked outside the cave with extremely terrified eyes.
Shuqianqian boast.
A stray orc? She recalled that Jiao had seen wandering orcs with her before. They were a group of guys who burned, killed, looted, and committed all kinds of evil. They specialized in plundering the tribe's food and females.
But
why are they here? Su Qianqian paused for a moment and noticed the blood-stained bone whistle on the ground. How could Bai Qi be in contact with the wandering orcs?
Could it be?
A bad guess was about to come out, however. The next second, Heimu suddenly grabbed her wrist. Quick, you and Jillian go hide. But Jillian glanced at Karasuma lying on the ground, but Karasuma's injury is not yet. It's too late. The stray orcs are coming. If you don't hide, you will all die. Heimu didn't wait for Jiao to finish her words. He stood up and knelt in front of the tribe leader and said in a deep voice, "Tribal leader, the stray orcs are coming. Please allow me and other male orcs to go out and fight. We must not let the stray orcs take away the food and females of our tribe." The tribe leader was so nervous and scared that he didn't know what to say. After Mu reminded him, he nodded repeatedly. Okay, go stop the stray orcs and give the females time to escape. Lang Yan, who is able to fight against the wandering orcs, is not in the tribe. Now only these orcs without superpowers are left to stop them. They must try to buy time for the females to escape. Otherwise, the entire Grey Wolf tribe will be wiped out. The tribe leader, no matter how scared they were, everyone still walked out of the cave. Su Qianqian was blocked in the cave and couldn't see what was happening outside. She could only hear thunder and lightning one after another. The deafening thunder was terrifying. The few females who remained in the cave also huddled in the corner in fear. Su Qianqian subconsciously looked at Jillian, but only saw her staring outside the cave, her eyes full of hatred. She remembered that Jillian said that she once had 2 beast cubs, but both died at the hands of stray beast men. All the tragedies that Jillian suffered were caused by these stray orcs. The chief anxiously paced back and forth in the cave, muttering, "What should I do? What should I do?" Wandering orcs came too suddenly. The entire Grey Wolf tribe had no time to prepare. They could only bite the bullet and go out to prepare for battle. They didn't know if they could buy time for the females of the tribe to escape. Su Qianqian frowned as she looked at the patriarch, who was sweating profusely in anxiety. She had never seen stray orcs, nor had she experienced an attack by stray orcs, so she didn't know how strong they were. However, the Grey Wolf tribe had more than 100 adult male orcs, so they shouldn't be unable to deal with those stray orcs. However, the moment this thought came into his mind, the entire cave suddenly shook violently and countless thunderous explosions rang in his ears, as if they were going to blow the entire cave apart. Then, a hoarse voice came from outside. "Female hiding in there, hurry up and come out. Do you want to be buried alive in there?" Hearing this voice, the clan leader's face turned pale and his whole body was shaking, as if he could not stand steadily. The female cowering in the corner was so scared that she kept shaking her head, not wanting to go out. "I'll count to 3. If you don't come out, I'll kill all the cubs in your tribe," the hoarse voice outside threatened. "No, don't. Don't kill me. Woo-woo. Mother, save me." Soon, the cries of ILO cubs were heard outside the cave. When several females in the cave heard the sound, they lowered their heads and huddled in a corner, not daring to make a sound. Only Su Qianqian clenched her fists and gritted her teeth. Then, she stood up and went out of the cave, but was stopped by a female. "Are you crazy? They will catch you if you go out. But we can't let them kill innocent people."
Su Lianyan giritte tertit.
She knew that war was inevitable in any world, but it should not involve innocent children and young lives. Even wild beasts know to let go of pregnant females when hunting. Only by saving the lives of their young can the species have hope of continuing and reproduce from generation to generation. The inhumane killing behavior of stray orcs cannot be tolerated at all. "Qianqian, I'll go with you." Jiao also stood up. "Once upon a time, 2 of my cubs died at the hands of stray orcs. Now I can't just watch the cubs of the tribe die at their hands." But the female wanted to stop them, but the tribe leader stood up and said in a deep voice, "That's enough. I will go out with you. The rest of the females stay in the cave and are not allowed to come out." As he spoke, the clan leader suddenly walked up to Su Qianqian and smeared all the ash in his hand on her face. "When you go out, don't talk or attract their attention." After saying this, he was the first to walk out of the cave with a fearless expression on his face. Su Qianqian and Jillian looked at each other silently and followed closely. As the 3 of them came out of the cave, they were almost stunned by the scene in front of them. In the dusty tribal square, more than 100 male orcs were almost knocked to the ground, and some of them seemed to be struck by lightning, with a burnt smell coming from their bodies. This wandering orc is so powerful. Su Qianqian couldn't hide her shock and looked up at the stray orcs not far away. More than a dozen stray orcs stood in a mighty manner on the statue that was split in half. Some of them had rhinoceros horns on their heads, Some had scars all over their faces, and some had leopard spots all over their bodies, but without exception, their ferocious faces were filled with bloodthirsty, murderous intent. Among them, there was a very burly male orc who was holding Ilo's cub in his hand like a chicken. There were strands of lightning wrapped around his sharp claws, as if it would hit the cub in his hand in the next second. "Let him go." Jillian was the first to shout, "I'll be your hostage." Upon hearing the sound, the wandering orcs all looked over. "So all the females are hiding here." The burly male orc sneered, and with a light wave of his claws, a thick bolt of lightning struck the cave behind Su Qianqian. With a loud boom, the cave shook violently and was about to collapse. Countless pieces of rubble fell down, and the females hiding inside ran out one after another. The wandering orcs nearby saw this and smiled flatteringly. "Boss, you are really awesome. You forced these cunning females out with just one move." "Not bad, not bad. There are 8 females in total. If we sell them all on the black market, we can make a lot of money." The orc with scars all over his face could no longer hold back. "Brothers, hurry up and capture all these females." More than a dozen stray orcs rushed forward, and the 8 females of the Grey Wolf tribe, including Su Qianqian, were all surrounded. The tribe leader next to them was pinned to the ground by the stray orc with a scar on his face. "Shura." The chief half knelt on the ground, almost howling in anger from his chest. "My Grey Wolf tribe has no grudges against you wandering orcs. Why did you suddenly attack our tribe?" As the leader of the wandering orcs, Shura strode forward, looking down at the tribe leader who was being trampled on the ground, and sneered. "Why do we wandering orcs have to report to you when we want to invade a tribe?" His voice was wanton and rampant, and he stomped down mercilessly, ruthlessly rubbing the patriarch's face on the ground. The patriarch was so angry that his chest heaved. He could hardly speak, let alone resist. He glanced at the female who was huddled in fear beside him, took 2 deep breaths, and finally pleaded humbly. "Zura, you can take as many animal skins and food as you want, but please don't take the females from our tribe. We, the Grey Wolf tribe, beg you. You old man, you are dreaming." Before Shura could speak, the scarred wandering orc kicked him. "We came here just to plunder the females from your tribe. Of course, we will not let go of your tribe's animal skins and food." As he said this, he waved his hand, signaling the rest of the brothers to search all the caves. Now that the cave was no longer guarded by orcs, it was easy to search. After a while, huge piles of animal skins and dried meat were piled up in front of everyone, like a small mountain. "I didn't expect that the Grey Wolf tribe has stockpiled so many supplies. This trip is not in vain." The Scar Orc picked up a piece of dried meat and stuffed it into his mouth, swallowing it in big gulps. The orcs covered in leopard prints also came over with a few small animal skin bags. They opened the bags to reveal the salt crystals inside. "Look, this small Grey Wolf tribe actually hid so much sea crystal sand. Our trip was really worth it." The chief was so angry that he was shaking all over. These supplies were accumulated bit by the tribesmen through frugality, just for the upcoming hot and cold seasons. Without these supplies, even if the tribesmen survived by chance, they would not be able to survive these 2 difficult seasons. "You wandering orcs are doing all kinds of evil. The beast god in heaven will never let you go." He closed his eyes tightly, deeply regretting letting Lang Yen leave the tribe. If Lang Yen were here, with the power of his 4 beast patterns, he would definitely be able to stop these cruel stray orcs. "You old fool. We wandering orcs have robbed so many tribes and killed countless orcs. If the beast god had eyes, how could he let us live until now?" Scarred Orc kicked the chief again and laughed wantonly. "There is no so-called beast god in this world, you stupid rubbish." "That's enough, second brother." Shura put away the lightning wrapped around his claws, glanced at the supplies on the ground and the females next to him, and ordered in a cold voice, "Take these supplies and the females away, and don't worry about the rest." "Yes, boss." The Scar Beast man changed his arrogant look and nodded respectfully to Shura. Then he turned around and shouted at more than a dozen of his brothers, "What are you standing there for? Hurry up and move." At this time, Bai Chi came running over with blood all over his head, holding the bloody bone whistle in his hand, and respectfully presented it to Shura. "Boss, I have completed all the tasks you asked me to do." "Well done, Bai Chi. If it weren't for the route you showed us, we wouldn't have found the Grey Wolf tribe so easily." The scarred orc patted Bai Chi's thin shoulder and picked up the bone whistle. "This time, you have done a great service for us wandering orcs. It's my duty." In the shocked eyes of the clan leader and a group of females, Bai Chi lowered his head obediently. "Bai Shi." The chief's heart-wrenching voice rang out. "You actually betrayed our Grey Wolf tribe and became a running dog of the wandering orcs. How has the tribe treated you badly? Why did you do such a thing?" "Oh, what's wrong with it?" Bai Chi looked at the tribe leader on the ground coldly, his eyes full of gloom and resentment. "Tribe leader, how dare you ask such a question? What's good about my life in the Grey Wolf tribe? Just because I'm skinny and can't hunt, you despise me and look down on me. You always give me the least amount of food. The females in the tribe also look down on me. What's even funnier is that they can't even pronounce my name. Haha, for all these years, I haven't had a home of my own in the Grey Wolf tribe." At this point, Bai Chi glared at the female next to him with bloodshot eyes. "Moreover, compared to me, you females who only know how to eat, drink, and have fun, and do nothing else deserve to die. You are the burden of the tribe, the parasites of the tribe, and you should all be sold to the dirtiest and most despicable black market slaves." He hated everything in the Grey Wolf tribe, so he took advantage of the last time he followed the witch doctor to the City of Beasts to exchange for sea crystal sand to secretly get money from the wandering orcs, and even fabricated a lie to let Lon de-drug the tribe leader. Without their chief, the leaderless Grey Wolf tribe is like a pile of loose sand and will be destroyed at the first blow. Unfortunately, the female Lanty was too useless and was of no use at all. In the end, he had to use the bone whistle to contact the wandering orcs himself. This bone whistle was given to him by a wandering orc in Wancho City. As long as he blew the bone whistle, no matter how far away the wandering orcs were, they would hear it and follow the sound. Bai Chi ignored the trembling tribe leader and turned to Shura. "Boss, there is another orc with 4 beast patterns in this tribe. I think you should not leave them alive, or Lang Yan will definitely come to seek revenge on you." "What did you say?" The scarred orc looked at him in surprise. "This small Grey Wolf tribe actually has orcs with 4 animal stripes?" "That's right." Bai Chi nodded heavily, a sinister look flashing in his eyes. "That guy is a rare genius in the Grey Wolf tribe for 100 years. He already has 4 beast patterns at such a young age. Boss, you must not let such a genius live, otherwise, he will be your lifelong rival." Shura was able to become the leader of the wandering orcs thanks to the power of his 4 beast patterns, which he was proud of. If he knew that an opponent who could rival him had appeared in the Grey Wolf tribe, he would never give up. Doesn't the Grey Wolf tribe boast that it will prosper forever as long as there is a genius like Lang Yan? Then let them see what the fall of a genius looks like. "Boss, we must not let such an enemy live." The scarred orc next to him said immediately, "How about we ambush here and kill Lang Yan as soon as he comes back?" Shura didn't say anything, but just looked solemnly at the orcs on the ground. Although these orcs were struck by the lightning power, their bodies became paralyzed and they temporarily lost the ability to move. They were able to recover in a short time. A genius with 4 beast patterns, plus these 100 or so rubbish. Even if they don't pose a threat, they will still bring a lot of trouble. As Shura was still thinking, the tribe leader beside him started to curse at the top of his lungs. "Bai Chi, you have such a vicious heart. Not only did you betray our Grey Wolf tribe, you even wanted to kill us. You will definitely be punished." After a long while, Shura withdrew his gaze and looked coldly at Bai Chi in front of him. "Why? Do you want to provoke me to stay and deal with that Lang Yan you mentioned?" Bai Chi choked, and his face turned pale instantly. He shook his head repeatedly and said, No, boss, I just wanted to." "Okay, you think I care about a mere beast man with 4 beast patterns?" Shura sneered, interrupting Bai Chi's attempt to quibble. "If he wants revenge, just come, I'll be waiting for him." "That's right." The scarred orc laughed arrogantly. Our boss is the leader of the wandering orcs throughout the entire Beast World continent. That Lang Yen is just a fledgling wolf cub. How can he be a match for our boss? If he wants revenge, just come. We wandering orcs are not to be trifled with." Hearing this, Bai Qi gritted his teeth, lowered his head, and said nothing more. Lang Yen escaped the attack by going out. Without the food and sea crystal sand stored by the tribe, his future days will surely not be easy. Thinking of this, Bai Qi felt a little better. Okay, it's time to get down to business. Shura, the leader of the wandering orcs, came in front of several females and glanced at the 8 females opposite one by one with a scrutinizing gaze. Scarred Orc came over and lowered his voice and said, "Boss, do you think there will be a holy female among them?" Shura frowned and said nothing. 10,000 beasts only divined that the holy female would appear in a tribe in the southern region of the Beast World continent, but no one knew which tribe it was. They searched every tribe one by one, but they couldn't find the legendary holy female. Could this small gray wolf tribe have won? Although the Scar Orc's voice was very low, Su Qianqian still heard the 3 words, holy female. Her eyes darkened, and she calmly lowered her face, which was covered in dust. Why would this group of wandering orcs who were burning, killing, and looting be looking for the holy female? And what was the purpose of looking for the holy female? As if he knew what Shura and Scarbeast were talking about, Bai Qi suddenly said, "Boss, I know where the saint female you are looking for is." "Where?" Scar Orc asked subconsciously. Bai Qi turned around and pointed his finger at Su Qianqian without hesitation. "That's her. She is the holy female you are looking for."
She?
The scarred beast man came forward and took a closer look at the thin and frail Su Qianqian, his face full of suspicion. The legendary holy female can give birth to beast cubs with innate powerful supernatural powers. She is so skinny. Can she give birth to a beast cub? "Boss, don't be fooled by her appearance," Bai Qi said hurriedly. "She knows a lot. She can communicate with the beast god. Not only can she weave some strange things, but she also knows herbs that even witch doctors don't know. She even cured the strange disease that led to the extinction of the Black Tiger tribe. And, you see, that piece of land was planted by her teaching the beastmen in the tribe." Several wandering orcs looked towards the red fruit field in unison, with surprise flashing in their eyes. She has a wealth of knowledge about herbs, can cure diseases, and can farm. Such a female must be extraordinary. And Bai Qi looked at Su Qianqian's face covered in dust, narrowed his eyes, and added, "Her face is not like this at all. She hid her appearance so that we wouldn't find her." "Really?" Shura strode forward, stretched out his rough big hands and pinched Su Qianqian's little face, then lifted her up and looked at her carefully for a while. Even though her face was covered with dust, it still couldn't conceal her delicate eyebrows and eyes. "Bring me a clean hide," he ordered. The wandering orc with a rhinoceros horn on his head quickly dug out a piece of clean animal skin from the pile of supplies and handed it to Shura. Shura picked up the animal skin bag hanging around his waist, poured out some water, soaked the animal skin in his hand, then pinched Su Qianqian's little face and wiped it carefully. Su Qianqian didn't move, nor did she resist at all, looking very obedient. But her fingers quietly touched the storage ring on her ring finger. But since just now, she has been secretly observing the situation. There are always more than 10 of these wandering orcs. If she takes out her particle ray gun to deal with them, 1 gun for each person, she can completely deal with them. But in this case, it would exceed 5 high-frequency shots and would cause a small-scale explosion. Su Qianqian was not sure how big this small area was, but it was definitely as powerful as a grenade. She did not dare to experiment easily in the Grey Wolf tribe. If the explosion killed everyone in the Grey Wolf tribe, that would be bad. Therefore, we must find a way to lure these stray orcs out of the Grey Wolf tribe, and then use the particle ray gun to deal with them. As the little face was wiped clean bit by bit, the dozen or so stray orcs present widened their eyes in shock. "This little female is actually a beauty." Scar Beast Man was the first to scream. "I was almost fooled by her." Looking at Su Qianqian's fair and clear skin and bright facial features, Shura licked his bloody lips and a hint of satisfaction flashed across his ferocious beast eyes. Yes, she is indeed good-looking. In this case, let her stay, and sell the rest of the females to the black market in Wanzhou City. Even if she is not a wholly female, it is worth keeping such a beautiful little female around. Su Qianqian lowered her eyes and still said nothing. Very good. She might as well take advantage of this opportunity to leave the tribe. Not only can she use the particle ray gun to deal with these stray orcs without any worries, but she can also make the people of the Grey Wolf tribe think that she is dead and completely forget about her existence. However, at this moment, Londi suddenly rushed forward. It's not her. I am the holy female you are looking for. She is not. After saying that, she knelt down in front of Shura with a flattering smile on her face.